morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. You'll notice different setup today. Haven't got it all figured out yet, but the backdrop is gone. The green screen is back, and hopefully that works out for everybody that's involved in this show. So sorry. I didn't plan on staying in this place for that long. And then I've decided to stay in this place. It wound up being like a good location. And I figured that my living room should no longer be just my streaming setup because my daughter brings friends over. And so I had to move it and condense space. And here we are. So hi, everybody. Good to see you. Hope you enjoy the changes. If you don't, my bad. I didn't take everybody else's feelings into account. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello. So are you embracing your inner darkness? I like all the black. It's
Yeah.
it's very. Am I rubbing off on you?
From what I understand, you're rubbing off on a bunch of other people. That's what it sounds like to me.
I haven't rubbed off on anybody.
Oh yeah, how's your voice doing this morning?
It's scratchy and
yeah. Where'd you get that? I wonder.
My spawn.
Oh yeah, she's fine though, right? She's having a sleepover, right?
Because F them kids.
Yeah, her kid seems to be fine. Jen seems to have a bit of a cold, but yeah, let's blame the kids.
Well, she had a cold, and then of course I've got to get a cold, and now she's going somewhere tonight, so I have a night to myself where I can go do stuff. And now I don't know. Maybe the voice sounds more scratchy and attractive. I don't know.
Well, this kind of narrows your dating pool for the next little bit. Like, given the advanced ages of some of the people you're dating, this could be deadly if you pass this along to them.
No, there's another one who's I think maybe like my age or maybe a year younger. I mean, I don't want to. I gotta try. I don't want to go out with someone I've already gone out with. I've gotta try out the roster.
What a crazy thing to say. So you might have a date tonight.
No, I definitely have one. I just with who?
You definitely have a date. It's 9:36 a.m. Pacific time. Your date is at, well, I guess you don't even know, but you haven't selected a date yet?
Well, I have to decide who I want to, I have to decide who I want to go out with.
And so is it just two people waiting on an answer here?
No, I think I'm going to go out with someone I haven't gone out with yet.
Well, but who's waiting on an answer? Or are you just assuming that at some point today?
No, I know there's others who wanted to go out with me. I don't have a ton of time because of Spawn. So
when are you going to make your decision? How does this work?
I'm leaning towards one in particular.
Okay, tell us about Steve.
Ew, no. Ew.
His name's not Steve.
No, his dad, and I will never know Steve's.
Whoa, anti-Steve. How does?
Well, so there's certain names like that if you had a bad experience with, or like I can't go out with someone. I can't go out with someone who had my husband's name.
All right.
Like if I run across someone with my husband's name, that's a swipe away. And then I took a restraining order out on a Steve. So,
oh.
Yeah.
Ew. Fuck you, Steve.
Yeah. So
whoever that guy is.
So I play off like Scuba Steve with Stupid Steve. So yeah. So that's kind of a red
my
flag.
bad. All right. Ryan. Let's call him Ryan.
No, Drago. I mean he's dead. So he's not an ex-husband. He's not alive anymore. So I'm widowed. But so yeah. No ex.
Okay. So at some point today you'll figure out who you're going on a date with tonight. That's great.
Yeah.
You're going to give them COVID, which is terrific.
I don't have COVID. It's just it could be allergies. It could be because it's kind of windy and weird, but
maybe she's born with it.
Yep. Yep. So, but yeah, so that's the plan. So, like I said, I've just got to figure out on it. No, I didn't take a restraining order out on a dead guy. Different guy.
She could though. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Jen to put out a restraining order on a dead person. Just like one last laugh.
I mean, that wouldn't be efficient. I mean, I
It
have better
wouldn't, but it would
situations.
be petty, and there is a little bit of petty in you.
Yeah, I
Did
mean,
Steve
true.
die because he was stalking Jen? Maybe.
I mean, maybe that's what we should go with. Um, that's what we should go with. And you guys that out insinuate that Jay and I are a thing. What is wrong with you? I mean, seriously.
What's that supposed to mean, Jen?
We're like I tell people we're like siblings, like with the
Oh,
arguments we have back and forth. We're like
good, because
siblings at this point.
it sounds like what you're saying is that nobody should consider dating me. That hurt my feelings.
I just think you're yucky for me. That's all. Other people might like you, and that's fine.
Not many,
Um,
honestly, not many. It's
but
a
I
low
mean,
number.
I'm not gonna yuck their yum, but
I
you're
hear
just
you.
not for me. So, but yeah. So
All right. Anything else?
I think that's Drago was talking about when I said there will never be RTP's turn. No, wow, you're
There's
cruising me.
yeah. I only go 10 years up and 7 years below. Plus, like I think,
Stupid.
yeah. Plus, I'm married. I
Stupid.
got married over the weekend. I didn't even tell you that.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, you don't live in Utah
I'll
anymore,
tell
so
you
I
more
didn't.
about that off air. I'll tell you
All
more
right.
about that conversation. I got accused of getting married over the weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
got it. Got
which
it.
is crazy.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we
Well,
can
it's
get
not. Wait,
started.
hold on. Why is that hilarious?
What?
Why is it hilarious that somebody accused me of getting married?
Well, if it's who I think it is,
Yeah. Okay. So that's why. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
that's why.
Okay. Never mind.
If
Sorry,
it's who
guys.
I
That was
think it
fucked up.
is,
I shouldn't do that live. That was fucked up of me to do that. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that. My bad. That was not nice of me to do that. That's a rude tease. I won't do that.
yeah. So no, I'm
Okay.
just. So, anyways, but yeah, so we'll get started. So welcome everybody. We're back on TikTok. We'll see.
I'm seeing. If you didn't get married, why did you go to Vegas? Honestly, that's part of the accusation. That part of the accusation stems from me not doing a show on Thursday and Friday. That's part of it, which would give you plenty of time to travel to Las Vegas, get married, have a nice little Las Vegas honeymoon, and make it back. So
Got it. Got it. Well, yeah, we can talk about that later. But anyway, so we're gonna get started. We're back on TikTok. Welcome everybody.
for now,
We for now. So yeah, we have to. I took the training class to get us back, get that access back. So we're.
and I listened to the suggestion from the training, and am not going to change anything. So
No, definitely not. But we're here, so since we're here, if you guys could, we put in the gift goal, we put like some heart me's and other things. So if you want to knock out some like gift goal over there, maybe help keep it up, that would be cool. But we also have another gift goal that we need to hit each day, so that we can keep the lights on, because this is our job. We do this Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all of that goes towards knocking out that gift goal. So if we could do that sooner rather than later, I'd appreciate it. We've got a members only event.
I'll tell the whole marriage accusation story during the members only event.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to hear about that story, you need to be a member. And we have the event Wednesdays, or every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So you guys can join us for that. If you guys disagree with RTP, you can send me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, and the number 1. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. She's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. And yeah, so I keep thinking about this. What did you
Nice.
used to say on, we had it somewhere. I think it was on the other account before it got banned. Did you say like news and something with ADHD?
I think it's
making.
on YouTube. It's something like watching the news with ADHD. Kind of, we're live restricted. We already got busted for harassment and bullying. That's got to be you.
Who have I harassed?
Me, bullied me. That's got to be you.
Whatever.
Maybe all these times it was you.
Okay, sure.
Wow.
We can blame it on me. That's fine.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's something I keep meaning to ask and I forget. So I just did it here. Anyways, yeah. So knock out the gift goal. We're gonna get going here soon. And got another joke from V-Ting.
Okay.
If a bee is bothering you, don't swat it and don't run away. Just look at it because seeing is believing.
Shit, I'm getting older. That's funny to me. All right. We did pick I picked a movie for members only night. Here is the trailer. There was only one suggestion that made it into the mod chat. So here it is. Look at this. It's like I'm out in the void. Hello, everyone. It's kind of fun being in the corner here. All right. Here's the trailer for what we're watching tomorrow night.
Best I can tell, you've been walking around with 2 broken legs for weeks.
When do I go back?
You ever again land on those legs of yours, those bones will turn to powder. Plenty other ways to serve your country.
You wanted to be special forces?
Yes, sir.
Why do you want to join the CIA?
I'd like to help my country make a difference in the world.
The average test time is 5 hours.
I'm done, sir.
It's been 40 minutes.
38 minutes. What should I do now?
Whatever you want.
The deputy director of the NSA offered me a new position.
Can you tell me anything about it?
You know I can't.
Find the terrorist in the internet haystack. You're making people very happy.
Thank you.
You ready for a little action?
Is that Pete
This looks
Hegseth?
juicy. How is this all possible?
Think of it as a Google search, except instead of searching only
All
what
right, I think we have to cut it there. Now it's 1 minute before we get auto-flagged by TikTok. That's what we're watching. Snowden. We're watching Snowden. So that's going to be fun. Somebody asked me, I don't know if it's the same person here, keeps asking if we're going to cover the Carmelo Anthony trial. I don't cover trials like this. We cover politics. If that veers into politics, we'll likely cover it. But most of the time, I don't cover that. I don't think that I would be like a great voice on that. I think that if you want to follow that, there's probably some excellent people with a lot more knowledge on that case than me that you should go check out. But I'm following it a little bit, but I don't think we'll cover it on here. That's just not really what I normally cover. Based on true events, more like literally propaganda. Yeah, I'm interested because I saw Snowden once before. The reason I wanted to watch Snowden again, I'm interested to see how it holds up with what we know now. I have this sneaking suspicion that while we watch this, like the chat's going to be like, fuck this is bullshit, this is bullshit, this is bullshit, this is bullshit. What about Israel getting control of our military? No, you don't ever respond to me. I feel like that's maybe an overgeneralization of that provision. I think what is like 241 or something. Like I can't remember what it is. We talked about that last week. Is there something you wanted to ask about with that? Is there something you want me to cover? I feel like we covered that last week. You did, Earl? Who did you get on TikTok to start covering the Election Truth Alliance? Yeah, it's an overgeneralization. Yeah, like Israel doesn't literally have control over our military. They have a big influence, and it looks like they're trying to get more of an influence. But yeah, that's why it's an overgeneralization. Is that crazy for me to say that? That it's textbook treason that our Congress is committing about that? Does it fit treason? Let's see. How does it fit the definition for treason? Let's look at that real quick. An individual owing allegiance to the U.S. must either levy war against the country or adhere to its enemies by giving them aid and comfort. Yeah, I don't think that's literally the definition of treason. I think you're literally using, that's not textbook treason. That's MAGA treason is what it sounds like. I don't know if you're MAGA. I'm not accusing you of that, but that sounds like the same type of language that MAGA would use. You're definitely not using treason correctly. Yeah, it fits treason. They're giving our secrets away to a foreign country. That is a terrorist organization. What are we talking about? Well, to be convicted of treason, an individual has to owe allegiance, that owes allegiance to the U.S., so that could be members of Congress. You have to do one of two things. They either have to levy war against the country or adhere to its enemies by giving them aid and comfort. We're not at war with Israel, And unfortunately, they are not recognized as an enemy by our laws. So I don't know. The Constitution sets exceptionally strict standard of proof requiring a confession in open court or the testimony of two witnesses to the exact same overt act. The elements of treason. I can actually we'll show this. We'll pull up the screen here. Look at the elements here. To be found guilty under 18 U.S. Code 2381, the prosecution must prove two distinct elements with beyond a reasonable doubt: levying war, assembling an armed force with intent to overthrow the government or resist federal authority. I don't know if they're doing that. And assisting a recognized enemy nation or group with the explicit intent to betray the United States. Providing support to an enemy requires proof of disloyal intent. Accidental assistance does not qualify as treason. I think what they're doing is corrupt. I think it's wrong. I don't think it should happen. I don't think it's treason. Probably why. You ask. Shows are going to be in a cave for a while until I figure out like a backdrop. I had to move my studio a little bit around today, and I'm using a green screen now, so I'll have to create like a backdrop that looks decent. But today we're just going black on the screen. So yeah, I don't think it's treason. Like a liberal, like a liberal categorizing me as MAGA. Yeah, see, now I'm confused. See, now I don't think that you can understand this stuff very well. Because what I said is, I'm not accusing you of being MAGA, but that sounds like the type of language that MAGA uses. Like I literally said I wasn't categorizing you as MAGA. Now I think you're just upset that we showed that it wasn't treason. I don't know why you're dying on this hill, Death Angel. This is a silly hill to die on. What are you doing? Everybody who's reading this is like, oh yeah, this clearly isn't treason. But you just like, you want us to care. You want to get some attention. It's bad. It's really fucking bad. Really, really fucking bad. I don't think it's treason. Oh yeah, no gift goal. Thank you. I forgot to put that up there. Thank you for reminding me there. We are crowdfunded. Anything you guys can do to help us knock out our gift goal by the end of the live is greatly appreciated. Blue Chew said, today's show not sponsored by Hulu and Blue Chew. As per usual, Blue Chew is not sending those checks, which is deeply frustrating. The amount of ads we've run for them for free. I do feel a little bit now like a stalker to Blue Chew. I've sent them enough emails. They should have responded by now. Super My Fam says, what's up with No Hat Tuesday? I actually did not forget about No Hat Tuesday. Full disclosure, I just need I need a haircut. It's bad and it's uneven, and you can see there, like, I just got to go get a haircut. And it looks stupid, and I didn't want to, I already look stupid enough, so I didn't want to look more stupid. So sorry about that on the No Hat Tuesday. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I just got to go get a haircut. Okay, this is crazy. Our immigration system is broken. I don't know if you guys saw this today here from Sky News. The World Cup's about to start, and we're down a referee already.
FIFA are having to deal with an unfortunate and embarrassing situation, as Africa's top referee has been refused permission to enter the US. Omar Artan was set to become the first Somalian to referee at a World Cup, but he was turned back when he landed at Miami International Airport, and he's now back in Istanbul. He believed he had a valid visa to work in the US, even though Somalia are on the US's travel ban list. Artan was the Confederation of African Football's 2025 Referee of the Year, and he's been a FIFA referee since 2018. An advisor to the Somalian Sports Ministry, Sise Aden Abshir, has told AFP, Omar is one of Africa's most respected referees.
Yeah, we're not doing a lot to shake that the United States is racist perception. Somebody mentioned the Senegal team were basically like getting like not strip search, but they were getting extra scrutiny. This is a referee. This person's been vetted, but just simply because they're Somalian, because Nick Shirley has now cost us a referee. That's awesome. We're not gonna get over those racist accusations anytime soon. Thanks, Republicans. Sherry said, damn it, you owe me. Oh, it's for my hat. Okay. God damn. Yes, I do owe you a no hat Tuesday. You chose to say you owe me head. Well done. You made my face turn red today. Thank you.
Denying him entry not only harms him personally, but it also undermines football's commitment to fairness, merit, and the spirit of fair play. Omar Artan was due to be one of the 170 officials working at this World Cup, but he's currently back in Turkey.
Yeah, there we go. Do I think my view count will ever go up? I've been doing this a year. I don't know. I don't even know what my view count is. Is it not going up? I have no idea. I'll be the last one to know if my view count goes up. I haven't looked at that in a long time. You could ask Jen. Jen's in the chat. She can tell you. W. Asta Sophia, just making it rain on vacation. Sent $100 over on PayPal and said, starting the dollar train. Thank you, Asta Sophia. And maybe Asta Sophia and Courtney don't fund the entire show today. That'd be great if you guys would want to jump in on that. But big W's in the chat for Asta Sophia. On the same day that this happened, this is ironic. They're not talking about the same thing. This is what Dr. Oz said about Somalians on Fox News. Again, not talking about the same thing. There is, and I'll move to this in just a second. But there's some pretty gross stuff happening with JD Vance and the what are they called, the anti-fraud team or whatever. And now, because things are going so poorly for this administration and this country and all of us, we're just fighting like these stupid racist, like, we're not racist, yes you are, social battles that are affecting real people, because this administration isn't a serious administration and they can't fix anything that they've broken. So they just want to divide.
Alone. I had investigators with me. We asked, why didn't you do something about it? They said, we were ostracized, we were walked out of the building, and the argument they gave, basically, is you're not allowed to complain about Somalians, because that's racist. And the worst thing you can be in Minnesota is a racist. Now, that to me is ironic, because the people you're hurting...
I don't think anybody thinks that the worst thing you can be is a racist. There are lots of racists in Minnesota, and most of them are out on the streets. And by contrast, the people that were scamming in Minnesota are in jail. And a lot of them were in jail long before Nick Shirley even came around. Colin, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that very much. But this is the theme. Today, I don't remember the title of today's show, but basically it is like we cracked the code. And I think it's like the code we all were aware of, but it's so apparent now. There is nothing going right. Like, MAGA can't even point to anything from this administration that's going well. It's just like, I hate Dems all day long. And that's where we're at. Like, we're making up conspiracy theories about every fucking election now. Even elections, of course, you're going to lose. Like, it's crazy that Spencer Pratt, who is a hated reality TV star. I think I brought this up before, but in the roast of Donald Trump, Anthony Jeselnik says, if you look up douchebag in the dictionary, there's a picture of Spencer Pratt. But if you zoom in, he's holding a picture of Donald Trump. Like that, like, he's just always been a scammy douchebag. This is a guy who didn't insure his house, lost his house, lied about why he lost his house, then spent like $1 million on crystals, and now he's running on homeless people are icky. And speaking of icky homeless people, Asmongold got real fucking cocky early on about Spencer Pratt. And now that it's switching, nobody's ever allowed to say like, "Oh, we got it wrong." It's just we're gonna make predictions, and then when those predictions turn out to be wrong, we're just gonna claim that everything was stolen. Here's Asmongold on June 3rd and then June 7th. And for all of you, trigger warning, because you have to look at Asmongold. You may want to put on if you have a COVID mask around, because I can smell the halitosis through the screen. It's deafening to my brain.
Blown the fuck out. Blown out. See ya, bitch. Thank God. Yes, remember he had that bitch on his stream? Yes, what you...
I think he and Hassan have some sort of beef, right? That's why he's talking about Hassan here. Don't they have some sort of like back and forth? If there's not an ongoing beef, you might want to get a restraining order, Hassan. Every time I see a clip of Asmongold, he's just talking about Hassan.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have been trying to... You know, Hassan really should be blaming himself for this. You had this woman on to be part of the LA mayor. That's what you get. It's his fault. He did this. That's why he's trying to stay off the screen, because he knows it. He doesn't want to take credit. He's embarrassed. And so she's been going up. Look at how many votes she's been getting here with all mail-in ballots. They're rigging it.
He's one of the biggest streamers on the right. One of the biggest ones. This guy, no facts. No understanding of any of this. This is why we're so fucked as a country. Is there's like millions of these people who just like, things are going to go exactly how I planned. Things don't go as planned. Everything is rigged.
They rigging it. And also, like, we're at the point now where I don't think that anybody should be afraid to say that. And I think that really we need to have more oversight because
they're so brave, guys. Look how brave they are. They're so brave saying that elections are stolen without any evidence at all. I think you're one of the Dems dumb when oh God, we got to read this. Yeah, host, I think you are one of the Dems dumb when Ilhan said stupid Americans in national TV. Hard to argue that point. Thank you. I'll take that into consideration.
Because these are the same people that said that the Minnesota daycares were legitimate. Blown the fuck.
I don't know what we do with Asmongold. It's things are tough. This happened also last night. Like we live. Idiocracy maybe should have been the movie that we watched. I'm only showing, there's a million people that have done clips on this. I'm just showing Rachel Maddow to make MAGA upset. But if you've probably seen this from everybody. I don't know how we missed this, or you guys probably didn't miss it. I missed it. This is a story that went unnoticed in my algorithm for a week.
All right. I sort of can't believe this story, but here we go. March 5th, which is a long time ago now, a New Jersey Republican congressman named...
Evidence is taking several weeks to count ballots when it's done in days in other states. No, that's literally not fucking evidence. That's literally not evidence. I'm trying to be nicer, doing my best. I don't want to get dinged for harassment and bullying by TikTok every single day. But you, Stacey, are making this hard for me. trying to turn over a new leaf, and then you say things like that, and a rage boils inside of me that I'm suppressing right now. You're going to cause me to die at an early age. That is not evidence at all. That's just a thing that you said. The evidence is that it takes a long time to count in a massive state with more people than every other state. Oh, that's not evidence. That's only evidence if you don't know what evidence is. And then when you don't know what evidence is, that's how you get duped by Donald Trump and MAGA, because you think that just like if words come out and you like the words that came out, that's evidence. That's not evidence. That's why you don't win any lawsuits. Because you go to court and they're like, where's your evidence? And they're like, it took 4 days. And they're like, cool, where's your evidence? Everybody knows that 4 days is a lot of days. You have to, in order to prove an election stolen, you need evidence, which I'm going to give you a little bit later, but
All right. I sort of can't believe this story, but here we go. March 5th, which is a long time ago now, a New Jersey Republican congressman named Tom Kean appeared on the House floor to take a vote, March 5th. He has not been seen since. Tom Kean has not been seen in public.
For you calendar aficionados, you know this, but for the rest of you, it's not March anymore. It's June. It goes March, and then it goes April, and then it goes May, and then it goes June. And we saw March 5th, and now it's June. It's not good.
The last 95 days. He released a statement in April saying he's been dealing with a personal medical issue. Last week, he followed that up with another written statement saying he will be back, quote, within a matter of weeks. But I will say we're now well into June. Still nobody has seen him. We certainly hope Congressman Kean is okay. We wish him all the best with whatever it is that he's contending with. But that said, in the meantime, there's kind of a weekend at Bernie's thing that's going on with the missing congressman, at least.
And then he won the primary. He won a primary. How did that happen? He just nobody's seen him since March, and Republicans are like, yeah, we got to vote for that guy. Is he in Tel Aviv? I have no idea. A personal, I don't know. It seems like, I don't want to speculate. It just, I think it's bizarre. Like a lot of times when it's some sort of like disease or like a medical issue that, wasn't self-inflicted, or a medical issue that, maybe you don't want out there because maybe it was contracted in a way that you wouldn't want getting out there, or like a drug problem. This is the kind of stuff that you do when you've got some sort of scandal that you're hiding from the people. We've had lots of people, members of Congress, go through chemotherapy, diagnosed with all sorts of ailments, and generally they just say what the ailment is. I don't know why the secrecy there, but it's been since March 3rd since we've seen him. And this kind of, I'm going to have to jump down. Did I not have? I thought I had. Oh, yeah. I have Mike Johnson's explanation here. I don't think this is very good. I don't think this is going to make people feel better. But where's Stay? Stay, good to have you back. Does it bother you at all that the Republicans just they don't have an answer for anything ever? I'm just wondering if at some point are you like, hey guys, can we get an answer for something, or is it just always Joe Biden's fault and the mainstream media? Jen, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. I appreciate you very much. Happy Tuesday to you. Did I miss one there? I don't think so. All right. Here's Mike Johnson in response to, where the fuck is Tom Kean? Kane. I think it's pronounced Kane. It's Kean. I think it's Kane, though.
Your colleague, Tom.
Okay, good. Stay. I'm glad. See? Middle ground. Look what we did. Stay. We're friends now.
Kane from New Jersey.
Oh, by the way, I was, of course, I was friends with you the whole time. I want that on the record. I'm a nice person, and I don't harass or bully people. TikTok.
Your colleague, Tom Kean from New Jersey, hasn't voted in 3 months. He hasn't been seen in 3 months. He says he is dealing with a personal medical issue and has repeatedly said he'll return soon. How is it acceptable that a member of Congress can be missing without explaining to constituents what exactly is going on? Does he need to be more forthcoming, and how is that acceptable?
I talked to Tom a couple of days ago, maybe Friday or Saturday. He's in good spirits, but as his public statement that went out yesterday explained, he's dealing with a health issue. He's under the care of healthcare providers, and they've told him.
See how vague this is? It's really vague. Okay, Jay, but you call MAGA out for being wrong when they post obvious falsehoods, not going along with their lies is clearly bullying. Good point. That's a good point. Shit. Amy said it took 38 days to declare Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor of California when he won. I didn't remember that, but there you go. I guess that one was stolen. California's population makes up 12% of the nation and is greater than the 21 least populated states. Yeah, it's going to take a few days to count the votes. And who cares? What is the argument here? The argument from Republicans is it takes too long, so it's corrupt. You know what would fix corruption? Hurrying things along. When has hurrying things along ever been the solution to corruption? How is do it faster going to fix this problem? It's not that's a weird argument. Here's Mike Johnson, though, back on why Tom Kean is missing.
He needs a little bit longer to recover. Now, that's all I can say. That's all he said. It's not a scandalous thing at all. People deal with health issues. Maybe that's a news flash for you, but even members of Congress get sick as well, right?
I mean, you just said, why are you saying, nobody said scandal. I don't know. Why are you saying it's not a scandalous thing at all? It's weird that he's not there. It's weird that nobody knows why. I do feel like if you have a health issue that's going to take you out of service for 4 months, maybe you resign. Maybe, I don't know. 4 months, that's a long time.
He's dealing with that right now. Tom Kean is an extraordinary member of Congress. He has delivered for the people of New Jersey.
Nobody's heard of Tom Kean. I'd never heard of Tom. I cover this for a living. I never heard of Tom Kean. Nobody thinks he's extraordinary.
He ran without opposition in the primary yesterday, and he deserved to because he has been a phenomenal member of Congress and a great member of our team here. He comes from a long legacy of public service in his family, as you know. He's a famous family.
He deserves it, guys. We haven't seen him for 4 months. He didn't tell any of you where the fuck he's going, but would it help you to know that he comes from a political lineage? Does that help? That's why he deserves it. His family also worked in politics. Oh, okay.
He is going to be back. He'll be back. He's working remotely right now, as he explained in his statement yesterday, and he's anxious to come back in person and be here voting every single day. So I'm going to let him address the rest of it. People are entitled to get sick. You know, this happens. And that's.
I live in New Jersey and don't know a damn thing Tom Kean has done. Did you know the name Tom Kean before today? I didn't.
Most we can say about it. He's going to give full transparency and full explanation when he gets back, and I'm encouraging him to do that.
Breaking news, you can take a 4-month vacation from your job because you deserve it. Yeah, shout out Asta Sophia over in Iceland. She's on a 4-month vacation or however long it is because she lives in a country where people can take vacations. But we wouldn't want to do that. Phoenix Rise said, just a reminder, congressmen work for us. If you didn't show up to work for 3 months, your boss would want to know why. I'm having a medical issue. Yeah, could you send a note? Like, if you don't show up to work, you got to send a note from the doctor. Somebody's got to know. I thought that was Hillary Clinton's running mate. That's Tim Kaine. We like Tim Kaine. All right. Something I liked, something I hope to see a lot more of and that I liked yesterday from Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie no longer has a single solitary fuck to give. And Thomas Massie, it appears, is going to spend the rest of his time in Congress going after AIPAC and the state of Israel, and I'm here for it. Yesterday, on the anniversary of the USS Liberty attack, Thomas Massie delivered this message. And for all the problems I have with old Tom Massie, and I hope he has figured out the difference between science and political science, science and pseudoscience, and I also hope he's figured out the difference between people being able to live on this planet and not being able to live on this planet. Maybe when he retires, he can do that. But goddamn, is he right about Israel and AIPAC? And 5 minutes and 44 seconds of pure gold from Thomas Massie, and we're going to watch it here together.
We now recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massie, for 5 minutes.
I request unanimous consent to revise and extend my marks and to introduce other material into the record.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, it's my great honor, maybe one of the biggest honors of my lifetime, to stand here on the floor and do something that's 59 years overdue, to recognize the survivors and those who gave their lives on the USS Liberty 59 years ago today, when they were viciously attacked by IDF jets and also after that by torpedo boats. I'm going to tell you a little bit of their story. And there, by the way, there's at least a dozen of them here today with us.
The most money ever spent on a primary was money spent against Thomas Massie, largely from Zionist donors. This is the type of shit that gets you run out of Congress, telling the truth about Israel. So we're going to play it.
I just met with them in my office, and they related this story to me. You know, it was a clear day. The USS Liberty was one of the most technologically sophisticated ships in the Navy, but it was virtually unarmed, and it was sent to observe the 6-day war going on in the Middle East between Israel and its neighbors. It arrived on June 7th, and the weather was clear. The planes came out to meet them, to investigate, and then on the next day, on June 8th, they started the day. The visibility was unlimited. The American flag was flying proudly on the USS Liberty. More planes came from Israel to surveil the boat, the ship. And they thought they were in good shape, but what happened next surprised them all.
All right, so let's talk about this. We sent a ship because Israel is at war. We've known for a very long time that Israel lies to us. And we're like, maybe we're going to go watch this war a little bit. And Israel, like they do with the flotillas, is like, no, you can't look at us. So that's where we're at now. Now Israel starts sending over their own spy planes. What's the U.S. doing here? Why are they over here watching us?
French Mirage jets showed up and for 25 minutes strafed and attacked the USS Liberty. They shot rockets. They shot 30-millimeter cannons into the hull and into the ship. They even dropped napalm on the bridge of the ship. This was an effort to kill everybody on board. There was no intention of taking prisoners. After the 25 grueling minutes of attack on this virtually unarmed ship, and they thought things were over and they could recover, the torpedo boats showed up, 3 torpedo boats. They launched 4 torpedoes. One of them hit the hull of the USS Liberty and killed 25 people instantly. It blew a 40-foot by 40-foot hole in the side of this ship. They were intent on sinking it. But they were also intent on not having a single survivor. According to eyewitness accounts, the Israelis machine gunned the lifeboats that they put down. They machine gunned the firefighters who were on the deck. They were bringing the wounded and the dead to the mess hall to triage them. They had one doctor who was trying to help them all, put a few stitches in. It was harrowing, and it's amazing. If not for that crew, that boat would have sunk that day. But it still wasn't over. Helicopters showed up, combat helicopters.
That's overstatement. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. Of course they knew it. Also, this was 1967. We had communications. It's not like they were out in the ocean and nobody could figure out what was going on. It's not like we couldn't get a message to Israel. It was 1967. It wasn't 1780. There's no question that, one, this happened and Israel obviously knew. I don't think that there's any wiggle room there that Israel knew what they were doing. But two, there is complicity by the United States government to, one, not stop this, and two, never really do anything about it.
And the USS Liberty, even though their signals were being jammed by the Israelis, got a signal out. And there were ships that tried to respond. The USS Saratoga, the USS America.
Why are the Israelis jamming the signal? Yeah, it's true, Jackie. I don't have it, but there's the audio of Israel's control tower that day. You can hear it.
Sent planes, both of them sent planes to help the USS Liberty. And something happened that's never happened before. A ship under attack, the planes were recalled. This has never happened before. And they sat there for 17 hours. 34 dead, 174 wounded, out of 294 crew members. That's over 70% casualty rate, unheard of. The Israelis were intent on leaving no survivor. And what about our own military? Why did they not send anybody for 17 hours to help these men? So what really happened? You know, the official reports say that it was a case of mistaken identity. But if you listen to Dean Rusk, former Secretary of State, Richard Helms, CIA Director, Bobby Ray Inman, head of the NSA, Captain Ward Boston, who was the chief counsel of the Court of Inquiry. If you listen to Admiral Moore, who served in Pearl Harbor, Midway, commanded both the Atlantic and Pacific Fleet, and was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, none of these distinguished men.
By the way, this ship, the USS Liberty, who in the 6-Day War had a ship like that? It was Israel. It was Egypt. It was Jordan, Syria, I think Iraq, maybe Lebanon. Which of those countries had something similar to the USS Liberty? I don't know. I'm going to guess none of them. I couldn't find any evidence of that. Somebody might know more than I do. But who did they think it was?
And think this was an accident. They think it was intentional murder by the country of Israel, either as a false flag operation or because they simply didn't want anybody observing what they were doing that day. Well, I've got a call to action for everybody here. Honor these.
Now, Thomas Massie didn't do any of this shit before. Fair criticism of him? Good on him now. But they turned on Thomas Massie, the AIPAC crew, the Zionist crew, the Trump crew. They turned on him about Epstein. I think Thomas Massey's sending a bigger message here of, hey, why are you mad at me about the Epstein thing, and why is it the Zionists coming at me? The big problem was Epstein. They're coming at him about Epstein. Trump administration came at him for Epstein. They're claiming anti-Semitism. Remember that clip earlier where Dr. Oz was like, the worst thing you could possibly be called is a racist. They're playing. That's the game they're playing. That's a self-report. They're reporting like, hey, anytime you don't like something, just claim that it's racist or anti-Semitic in this case.
Individuals, quit ignoring that they exist. Go to their website, ussliberty.org. Support them. And while they're still alive, they need closure. Let's give them closure. Let's have an investigation. Let's pass a resolution honoring them. It's long overdue.
Let's talk about some of those people. I found this clip earlier. I didn't. This is from a documentary called "The Day Israel Attacked America" from 2014. Now we have FOIA requests. Now we have some of this stuff declassified. Here's some of the people that were involved.
The Israeli government and the U.S. Naval Attaché dropped a brown paper sack on the deck in the forepart of the ship. Weighted down with an orange, had a business card in it. It landed right next to the severed leg of one of the deck personnel.
And the note said, "Do you have casualties?" Pretty obvious that there were casualties. I mean, there's still body parts.
Yes, VMBLV. The president was Lyndon Johnson. Nobody's surprised that LBJ was a friend to Israel here.
And blood streaming down the bulkheads. So his message, "Do you have casualties?" was kind of out of place.
One of the sailors carried that sack back to the captain, and the captain took out the note and read it, looked up at the helicopter, and popped the social finger at it.
June the 8th, 1967, the height of the Six-Day War. The USS Liberty, an American spy ship, had just been attacked by Israeli jets and torpedo boats while in international waters off Egypt.
Sophia said, have you covered the Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner island in Albania? Latest is that their purchase was denied because of the increase of Albanian protest. I haven't seen that as the latest. It's on the outline today, but if that's an update, I didn't catch that.
Badly damaged, 2/3 of its crew were dead or wounded. As soon as the news reached Washington, the attack on the Liberty instantly triggered a domestic political crisis. According to documents released under the Freedom of Information Act, one solution suggested in American government circles was to sink the Liberty so journalists could not photograph it and inflame public opinion against the Israelis.
That's an American sentiment. Those were Americans in the intelligence agencies suggesting, obviously not all of them, but there was some amount of them that were like, hey, we should probably just sink it so that journalists can't take pictures of this. Right? Because fake news media, not because of government cover-up. It's fake news media.
The NSA rejected this idea with an impolite comment. Handling the media became the top priority.
I was taken to my...
Yeah, we agree with that state. The files have both parties dead to rights, but you know who they don't have dead to rights? Obama, Biden. Basically, nobody that's still relevant in the DNC is implicated in those documents. Now, maybe that's by sheer luck. Maybe Democrats realized that a while ago and ran these people out, or maybe they even cut a deal that were like, hey, you got to get out of here because you're going to be implicated. I don't know, but there's honestly not that many members of Congress or people that are even relevant in Democrat circles right now that are implicated in the Epstein files. It's not to say that the Democrats are great. It's not, but like let's be honest. Donald Trump's in there a lot. His what was Bannon? Was Bannon his chief of staff at one point? His chief of staff is literally emailing Is that what he was? I can't remember. Somebody remind me what Steve Bannon's role was in the administration before he got fired. But he was emailing Jeffrey Epstein every day. They were communicating back and forth every single day. Like it's not partisan. It's not by party, but it is about elites. And the reality is that like the elites in the Democratic Party, when it comes to ascending to the presidency, haven't done very well. Obama was certainly not an elite. Biden certainly wasn't an elite. He wasn't very well liked. He got beat a lot of times. In fact, that was kind of why he won and why they chose him to run against Trump, because he was like a clean version of Trump. He was a bit of an outsider, even though he'd been there forever. He wasn't super rich. He hadn't really enriched himself that much. All the scandals that were around him were, his kid did drugs, which you can overcome that. But yeah, that's probably better. It's like 80 to 90% of the billionaire class. That's who it was. It was the wealthiest. And a lot of those people hid behind progressive policies or more socially cohesive policies. A lot of people got a lot of credit for supporting things like gay marriage, LGBTQ rights, climate change. A lot of people created big foundations like the Clinton Foundation. So it looked like, we're all about doing charity work. All of that's true. But if you're looking at the two parties right now, I would say that it's obvious that the Republicans are the ones actively covering it up. They're the ones most implicated. And there seems to be a lot of them who are willing to stake their careers on this and just lie to our faces every single day. But getting back to this on the Liberty, this went on for a long time. Now, LBJ was the president during this time. LBJ is perhaps most famous as president for being the first person to really normalize and elevate our relationship with Israel. This is probably where you can look and say, like, this is where Israel's compromise or their influence or their blackmail really started to work for them, because they got the sitting president of the United States to basically look the other way and then normalize relations.
Home in White Oak, Maryland. My name is
maybe you're not talking about me.
Patricia Blue Rashakis, and my husband was killed on the Liberty. And by the time I got there, there were any number of people from the National Security Agency there. They were there to make sure that I didn't speak to anyone from the press, and I didn't. They stayed night and day.
Back in the Mediterranean, the Liberty was now listing at 10 degrees, a massive hole in the hull, above and below the waterline.
Nobody should be surprised at that, too. I forget their podcast name. I always forget their name. It's like a real right-wing podcast, but they exposed a bunch of people for stolen valor. God damn, I hate not being able to reference them. But they've pretty much well exposed now that when people die in the military, especially in combat, if it's like a famous story, they go right to the family and they shut all the stories down. And they act like they're protecting the family, but really they just want to cultivate, control, and then push out the narrative that they want to push out. So that's not unusual that they're doing that either. Like, we've been doing that forever. That's why we never get like the truth on any of this stuff. I just want you guys to know, like, if this isn't entertaining to you, if this isn't catching your attention, stick around for a minute, because we're going to go through basically like decades of this exact playbook done by Israel using the United States and their influence over the United States to lie to us about fucking everything and turn all of these people who certainly aren't villains into villains while they say our support of Israel protects us. And for a long time, myself included, we were like, oh, Israel's the good guy. It's us. It's Israel. We're the good guys. We're over there fighting those radical, angry Muslims who are trying to do Sharia law all over the world. And we're just over there to alleviate the pressures on their people and give them democracy, which just couldn't be further from the truth.
The planes that they said they were sending to us never arrived.
What I was afraid of, and I think most of us, was that we were going to sink.
Well, the mess decks
The JE cover-up is real and is worthy of impeachment. Agreed.
was pretty much littered with the wounded.
It looks like something out of a horror movie, with people standing around or lying, wounded and dead and stunned. Their heads missing, parts of their bodies.
The Liberty had only one doctor on board, with very limited medical resources.
There was not a table that wasn't being used with a body on it, or a wounded body on it.
The doctor fixed compound fractures and treated bullet and shrapnel wounds, while blood transfusions were given arm to arm.
It was real bad.
And the doctor said to him, "Do you want me to operate?" He says, you're
Hey, mods, do whatever you want with people talking about Plattner and Nazis. You can't talk about, like, we can talk about Graham Plattner here. We all can do this. I don't mean to interject here, but we get to all talk about Graham Plattner. You know why? Because the Nazis aren't in our party. The Nazis are in your party. You don't get to talk about Nazis. They're in your party. When you eradicate them, you can come over here and talk. I don't believe Graham Plattner's a Nazi. We can have that discussion. You guys don't get an opinion on that. So any right-winger in here who's trying to do Graham Plattner shit, mods, feel free to do whatever you want without banning today. But we're going to stay on this subject today. What we're not going to do is let people just distract from what's being exposed here. And rest assured, some of these people are legitimately bots. They come in, they want to distract. They're going to want to talk about Trump in New York yesterday. They're going to want to talk about Graham Plattner. They're going to want to talk about anything other than the most obviously corrupt administration in history that is doing this in plain sight. And the reason we can't talk about it is because they want to play these silly little games with us. You have to shut the fuck up forever about Nazis until you get rid of the Nazis out of your party. You don't get to talk about Graham Plattner when you have Pete Hegseth. You just don't. You have no moral standing. Nobody gives a fuck what you're saying. This is just you guys ignoring the Nazi problem in your party because it's not a fucking problem for you. What upsets you about the fact that Graham Plattner is being accused of this is that you're like, wait a minute, we always get in trouble for having Nazis. Yeah, it's because you have Nazis. Like, your party is full of them. One of the top 3 most influential people on the right is Nick Fuentes, who is a Nazi. And you can say Nick Fuentes doesn't support Trump anymore. Fine. Still on the right. You have a Nazi problem. We have a problem with a man who got a tattoo that's a Nazi tattoo. Somebody brought it up yesterday. I had a hat on yesterday. There were people calling me a Nazi yesterday for by the way, a Navajo symbol on my hat. It's a local company here that makes like Arizona hats, and it's a Navajo symbol. And you guys were calling me a Nazi. It's crazy. When the Nazis are like, I'm a Nazi, you're like, yeah, who cares? They can be Nazis if they want to. And then somebody gets a like Nazi adjacent tattoo over here, and you're like, oh, who's got to talk about the Nazis? Because you don't want to talk about this. You don't want to talk about how it's obvious that Israel owns our government. And it wasn't that obvious in 1967, for the record. Most of America didn't see this. The reason we're starting in 1967 and we're going to work up to where we are today is because now the pattern is pretty fucking clear. You can be excused for not seeing the pattern earlier. At least for me. I have no ability to judge anybody who didn't see this pattern earlier because I didn't see it up until 2024, 2025. Even now, it's becoming more and more and more clear, especially with like how AIPAC is just like, fuck it, we're just going to do it. Anybody who criticizes us, we're running them out of the government. But that's what we're talking about here. And this is far more important than what's on Graham Plattner's tattoo. If Graham Plattner, worst case scenario, Graham Plattner gets into Congress, he lied to all of us, and then he gets run out. It's just like John Fetterman. That's the game we're playing here. That's politics. Sometimes people dupe you. Sometimes people change. Sometimes people get corrupt. And you got to run them out. But for fuck's sakes, if you're telling me that somebody who is deeply apologetic about most of basically every view that he's ever put online, things that, by the way, he let his staff know long before he even ran. He was vetted. He took accountability for these things. Like, if you want me to care more about that than I care that that fossil that's been in office pretending to be an independent get back in office, yeah, I'll take my chances with Graham Plattner, and maybe I'll be wrong. But if I'm wrong, and if we're wrong, he's going to get run the fuck out. They'll run him out of Maine. He won't stay in office in Maine. So that's the chance we have to take. And I'll be the first one here being like, yeah, he got me. I should have seen it coming. You guys were right. But again, you don't get to comment on this shit until you take care of the Nazi problem in your party.
Probably going to die if I do it, and you'll certainly die if I don't. And he said, go ahead, doctor. And so when the doctor operated, we held him as tight as we could. It was horrible pain, I'm sure, for him. And all of a sudden, he went limp, and he died right there.
I don't want to ever see anything like that again.
Don't tell me that I'd lose my mind if it was somebody on the right. I've given more coverage to Graham Plattner's tattoo than I've given to Pete Hegseth's tattoo. I covered Pete Hegseth's tattoo one day, and then I moved on. And the reason I moved on is because nobody in this chat brought it up every fucking day because they'd already heard about it. Pete Hegseth's tattoo has not gotten near the attention as Graham Plattner's, and it's the same. And Pete Hegseth's rhetoric is Nazi. He is a white nationalist. He is on the record saying kill all Muslims. Like, he believes in ethno-supremacy. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't even make an argument that he's not an ethno-supremacist. So you can't make that argument either.
Captain McGonigal received a pretty bad leg injury, lost a lot of blood. He was navigating by the stars.
We had a little bit of power and tons of water in our belly, which meant the ship waved back and forth all night long.
The next day, American ships arrived to take the injured and the dead off the Liberty. The American government now made sure that no journalists could get anywhere near the crew.
When they took the severely wounded to various parts, they actually posted guards on their room so that no one could be interviewed by the press. The total press blackout was in effect.
Back in Washington.
Shocker. All right, Jeff, this is the last chance, bud. We'll do this one more time, and then if you're going to keep going down this road, we got to mute you for a little while. You said all that shit should be called out, but you can't. I called out Graham Plattner. I absolutely did. We talked about everything that he's written. I condemned it. The chat condemned it. Graham Plattner condemned it. There isn't a single thing outside of we haven't covered the most recent allegations that he was unfaithful to his wife. I don't cover that shit. It's not to me, it's not relevant to how somebody legislates. It might be relevant for you, for their character. And I think that that's fair. Like, if you're voting between two candidates and it comes down to their character, great. If character's the number one thing for you, great. Don't vote for Graham Plattner. I don't think that it matters more that he cheated on his wife, who, by the way, she acknowledged the leak is his wife. His wife told a friend, and she leaked it to the press, and this was before he ran. So, like, I don't cover that, but we've covered every single thing Graham Plattner's been accused of. We haven't shied away from saying those things were wrong, but, like, I used to be a dipshit Republican. I have some privilege here. I have some experience here, and I'm lucky enough that there's people that show up every day to watch this show knowing who I was before. Some of you actually knew who I was before, and most of you just know what I've told you I was before. But I can't be the person that's like, you can't change. I can't be that. I can't be that voice, and I won't be that voice. There are some who can have that voice. There are people who are affected by Graham Plattner that absolutely can have that voice, and they can say that. But that's all we do is report on politics here. All right, I'm not TMZ. This fucking matters. And who's funding all these attacks, all these Nazi attacks on Graham Plattner? Is it the Zionists? Is it the establishment? Yeah, it's these same people. I wonder why. One of the few people who is literally running on one of the most popular campaigns in the country of, hey, we got to get Israel the fuck out. I wonder why they're recycling stories that we already knew. I wonder why they won't let that shit go. I have a bigger problem with Zionists who are overlooking a current genocide than somebody who got a tattoo, and according to every report, he was unaware that it was a Nazi tattoo. There is no other evidence of any Nazi affiliation. The other people in his platoon got the same tattoo, and it passed through the military. The military inspected that. They gave him clearance. The military never flagged it as a Nazi tattoo. So my personal opinion is I don't think he was ever a Nazi. There's no evidence that this man ever held Nazi views. He held some gross views, but I've never seen evidence that he held Nazi views. In fact, the opposite. He was far closer to a communist, which he's backed off on. But yeah, we cover it. And then you guys got to make your own choice.
Washington, the government ensured there was little information for the press, while politics went on behind closed doors.
All right. So there's the first, for most of us that are alive. Some of you were alive for that. Most of us weren't. That's when I think that the American people first started going, Israel's got a problem. And it was, somebody brought up, it was LBJ. He normalized these relationships. And ever since then, goddamn, we've gotten to some weird shit. We've been in some weird fucking wars since then. Amy Lynn said military flagged Hegseth, though. That's true. And Hegseth got demoted, right? Or just removed from his I don't know if his platoon. Yeah. But we got to care more about Plattner. Nick said, thanks for answering the Cap question yesterday. I wasn't comparing Cap to Dart, obviously because Cap stood for something justified. Just felt the need to ask you, aka top 5 Utah Mormons in my book. I only know of 2, one of only 2. Hope to see you in the Utah Mormon Hall of Fame one day. Yeah, it's unlikely. I could be in the maybe one day if they ever recognize 2000s soccer as a real sport in Utah. I might sneak in there, see what happens. Anyways, thank you. Yeah, I appreciated that question. I didn't think you were comparing Jackson Dart and Colin Kaepernick. I think you were just comparing like the media response. I'm gonna skip this. I'll come back. Jen or whoever's doing it, I'm gonna skip 5, 6, and we're gonna go to 7. And the rest of the show today, I just want to show how Republicans litigate everything now. I'm going to call this, well, actually, I'm going to play this video first. This is J.D. Vance. We're doing one of 2 things. We're either doing weaponization or we're doing bait. And I think it's important that every time you see a Republican on TV, they're doing one of 2 things, weaponization or baiting. This is J.D. Vance, and this is an example of baiting.
The House Oversight
and weaponization, but baiting.
Just came out with a report that said that Tim Walz was warned repeatedly that there was fraud, and he kept the money flowing because he didn't want to be called racist. That sounds like a crime to me. Is that a crime?
This is something a Republican said. The Republicans put out this report. They have a source who was a Republican operative, didn't work in the Walz administration, would never have been privy to any of these discussions, who said that Tim Walz knew that there was fraud, which he did know, and that he kept the money flowing because he didn't want to be called racist. But that's not true, because what he did is he was told about the fraud. He created a task force. They investigated the fraud, and because they didn't want to suspend money going to deserving people, the money kept flowing until they could figure out who was committing fraud. That's what actually happened. Now, J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States, and he has no fucking authority whatsoever to investigate Tim Walz. And he hasn't investigated Tim Walz. The Republicans in Congress are, for some reason, doing this investigation. And this is baiting you into talking about something that they want you to talk about, which is Minnesota and Tim Walz. And they'll spin it into an anti-Somalian, and they'll put trans people in there as well. That's the bait. But it's also the weaponization. And what you can see is that Republicans in Congress now are taking their orders directly from the executive branch. They hold a hearing. They bring in witnesses. They ask those witnesses questions about pending litigation, questions the witnesses can't answer because there's pending litigation. Then they submit all of that information, and they smear the public opinion. And then after they do these hearings, somebody like J.D. Vance or Mike Johnson or any of these committee heads, then they submit a criminal referral. The criminal referral gets greenlit by a grand jury, which is pretty easy to get, and a grand jury indictment from the DOJ. And then the DOJ never wins any of these cases. But because they have built the narrative before the case, everybody in Congress is like, see, we already proved this. They don't prove anything, and we'll talk about that. Then they send the criminal indictment. Then they get the indictment. They get to court. They never fucking win. And then they say, corrupt courts, corrupt judges, woke judges, weaponized government. This is their game plan because they actually don't have a fucking plan. This is what they're doing. This is what your taxpayer money is doing now. Absolutely fuck all. It is doing fucking nothing because the DOJ is already able to investigate these things. They don't need Congress to hold these hearings. In these hearings, they can't get information because of pending litigation. So they're just doing PR for the DOJ, and then the DOJ loses the case, and then they never have to admit that they lose a case because, everything's weaponized against us. Do we see the game here? Can somebody point in the Constitution where the fuck the vice president would be investigating the crimes of a governor and then submitting a criminal referral? When have we ever done this? That's the role of the vice president now, the executive branch? Right? This is the game. It's going to be, you're going to see the pattern. At the end of the show today, I hope that we can just see, like, here's what they do. And we have to start talking about Republicans like this. We have to stop talking about them like human beings. Because they're not acting like human beings. They're acting like scripted bots. And it's so obvious. You can predict everything they're going to do and say. We can do it with the bots in the chat. We can do it with the real losers in the chat. We can do it with the administration. We can do it with Congress. We can predict everything they do with near 100% accuracy because they are not doing anything. They're just playing games while Donald Trump fleeces us. It just keep you distracted, keep you distracted. And once you see it for what it is, it's pretty hard to take any of these people seriously.
Well, I'm going to let the law determine what's a crime and what's not. We're certainly going to invest.
Smart. We're going to let the law determine. Yeah, but you've already done the media shit, right? Every conservative in here is convinced that Tim Walz gave this money because he was afraid, he knew about it, then he gave the money because he was afraid of being called racist. Why? Because that fits your narrative. Do you have evidence? No. Will these charges stick? Absolutely not. Will that change your mind? Nope.
Investigate this, Jesse, and I guess now I can make a bit of breaking news because I left the White House to come here to do this interview with you, and before I did, we actually referred this particular case to the Department of Justice for a full criminal investigation. We are not going to do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before all the facts are in.
When did they, give me an example of when the Biden administration did that? They're literally doing this. I'm going to watch, just remember this part. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do what they did.
Do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before all the facts are in.
Okay. Write it down, Republicans. We're not going to do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before the facts are in. Write it fucking down. And put it right in front of you while you watch the rest of these clips today and decide, did we decide to wait for the law or are we making judgments?
But here's what's particularly troubling about this to me is Jesse, you had people within Governor Walz's office.
Why are people going to jail for fraud? Because Tim Walz's office created a task force and they're investigating these people for fraud. And now the Republicans are investigating him for not going after fraud, but there's people in jail for doing fraud that they investigated. See how this doesn't make any goddamn sense? Why aren't they investigating the fraud? Because he's already doing it. So what do they do instead? They're like, he's not actually doing it. Oh, okay.
Who were saying, you know what? This looks like fraud. It looks like these Somalian illegal immigrants are doing something that's very shady. And then you had people.
None of the people are Somalian illegal immigrants that did this fraud. None. They are all either legal residents of this state or they have work authorization in this country. That's how they can run a fucking government-funded business. You can't do that if you are an illegal immigrant. It's all buzzword bullshit to keep you mad. These are not illegal immigrants doing this. That's the Vice President of the United States on the nation's biggest news organization. No pushback, ever. Just allow him to keep saying dumb shit.
Somalian illegal immigrants are doing something that's very shady. And then you had people who shut them down, who shut these whistleblowers down and said, you know, you're a racist or you're a xenophobe for asking questions about where taxpayer money is going.
Who did that? Those whistleblowers testified in front of Congress. Nobody shut them down. They met with Tim Walz. They all testified about meeting with Tim Walz. Most of them were Republican legislators in their state. They spoke on the floor of the House in their own state, the floor of the Senate in their own state. Nobody has silenced them ever. They've been allowed to say and do whatever they want. No one has silenced them. Just some people are like, hey, I don't think you have evidence. Well, if you don't believe them and make changes, then you are silencing them.
What that means to me, Jesse, is that clearly people weren't taking fraud seriously. Whether it rises to the level of a criminal violation, we're going to investigate it. And of course, if it does rise to that level, we're going to prosecute it. We have to.
Yeah. It won't. It won't ever. Amy said Trump has pardoned over $2 billion of Medicare and Medicaid fraud, meaning those people do not have to pay us back. They just get off. But Trump got some of that money that they paid. Ross Ranch said 38 U.S. states have enacted laws or executive orders targeting the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel, the BDS movement. I didn't know that many states had signed. That's awesome. Natalie said, I'm amazed how they focus on Somali fraud and ignore the fraud in this administration. Yeah. You know, sorry, I read that one late. My bad. But perfect timing to read it. All right. Now we're going to go. This is called weaponization. Now they're going to do exactly what we're talking about. You're going to get a bunch of people. We get this all the time, too, talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is Brian Fair, who is the interim CEO at the Southern Poverty Law Center. And you're going to see exactly what we're talking about here. Jim Jordan, every Republican up here knows that there is an ongoing investigation, which means that he legally cannot answer most of these questions. There's an indictment, and Jim Jordan is reading. I swear to God, Jim Jordan is reading the indictment and asking him to answer questions from the indictment before they go to court. Why is he doing that? Does he know he can't answer the questions? Of course he does. He's trying to smear public opinion. Why? Because this case has no fucking legs. They just want to distract you from what they're doing, which is Donald Trump's getting filthy fucking rich. Israel's doing whatever they want. We're giving away our military, the infrastructure of our government, and we're about to see the biggest fucking heist of the stock market in any country's history. We're about to see the largest transfer of wealth directly into the hands of the richest people in this country at the expense of all of you that have a 401k, all of you that are investing. You're about to get hit. If you're in mutual funds, you're going to get hit. You're going to lose money. All that money is going to go to these billionaires and the early investors of Twitter and Tesla and SpaceX to pay them off. And then it's going to crash, and we're going to be left holding the bag. And Republicans want to do anything but make you aware that that's exactly what the fuck they're doing. So they're instead going to smear the Southern Poverty Law Center, a case in which they have no shot at winning. And now they're just going to try and change public perception. And then when this case is either dropped or laughed out of court by the judge, you guys will say, that was a weaponized judge. That's a radical, woke, leftist judge. Roll the tape.
Southern Poverty Law Center used donor money to have field sources attend extremist rallies across the country.
Mr. Chairman.
It's a simple question. Did you use your donor money for that purpose?
We used donor money.
It's a yes or no?
Paid confidential informants to infiltrate extremist organizations.
Did the Southern...
Is that illegal? No. Does anybody here have a problem with an organization that fights extremist groups paying confidential informants to infiltrate and rat on these extremist groups? I'd be surprised if you have a problem with that. So what's the GOP saying? Oh, some of this money wound up in the pockets of the extremist groups, so you're funding the extremist groups. Yeah, word? Like the Proud Boys? Like the fucking Oath Keepers? Who's that other group in Idaho? Those nerds that always show up in matching outfits in U-Haul trucks. Patriot Front. Do we recognize how silly this argument is? You're funding extremist groups. You're the same extremist groups you pardoned on January 6th. So now it's like, now because they tried to infiltrate that extremist group, the extremist group is the problem. They vote for you, dude. They're part of your party. You got members of Congress that are part of that group. What are we doing here? Jim Jordan is criticizing him for funding Republicans, for funding MAGA. These are terrible groups. I can't believe you funded them. Yeah. Word.
Poverty Law Center used donor dollars to have field sources host extremist rallies throughout the country.
Not to my knowledge.
That's not what the indictment says. Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use...
That's not what the indictment says. Exactly. Whoops. Whoops. You're reading an indictment. He can't answer most of these questions. And it's an indictment, not a guilty charge. Like, this is innocent until proven guilty, right? The indictment is what the government alleges. And when you go and you secure that indictment, the government needs some proof, not like you don't need overwhelming proof, not even a preponderance of the evidence. You just have to have reasonable and articulable suspicion that they committed a crime, and that doesn't necessarily mean direct, strong evidence. That's what they do in court, and then it's a judge's job to throw out any evidence that doesn't work.
Donor dollars to have field sources grow existing chapters of extremist groups.
Mr. Chairman, as I said earlier...
It's a simple question, Mr. Fair. Did you use donor money for the purpose I just read? I'm reading straight from the superseding indictment.
And Mr. Chairman, the indictment will be managed and responded to by counsel in the criminal case that's
Well, you just
pending.
answered a question from Mr. Raskin concerning the indictment. He asked you, did field sources send information to the FBI that help with things? You answered that question.
That's a matter of public knowledge. That's in our public filing.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources create new chapters of extremist groups?
Again, Mr. Chairman.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to recruit new individuals into those extremist groups?
That's right, Bill. I'm from Utah, and the CK killer is from the same town. That's not true. I am from Utah, but he lived about 4 hours south of me.
I assume you don't want me to answer since you're not giving me time to answer.
No, I'm giving you time to answer because that's a yes or did you use your donors' money for that purpose? Yes or no?
Again, those issues will be resolved in the pending allegations against the SPLC.
So then how's this clip? Jim Jordan then goes and clips this, and they run this on Fox News, and they're like, look at this guy not answering questions. He can't answer any of these questions. Legally, he cannot answer a single one of these questions. If he did, first of all, his attorneys would eat his lunch, but then he might be reprimanded from a judge. You can't do it. You can't answer any of these questions. So Jim Jordan's going to run these clips, and Fox News is running these clips saying, look how evasive he is.
Seems to me if the answer is no, you could say no.
We have asserted that the allegations are false.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources make donations to extremist group leaders and purchase materials for cross burnings? It's alleged in the indictment. Did it happen?
We've alleged that those allegations are false.
Did Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources create racist paraphernalia that extremist groups sold at rallies?
We've alleged that those allegations are false.
Okay, how about this? What is Fox photography?
This is what your taxpayer dollars are doing. Reading an indictment that all of us can read, asking questions that you know you can't get answers to. Yeah, he can't answer he can't answer anything. So that's the point here, Toker. We're close. Toker, I feel like today's the day we're going to get on the same page. This is the opportunity I've been looking for. He can't answer if it's true. Exactly. Jim Jordan knows that. So Toker, why is he there? Why did they bring him in front of Congress if they know he can't answer those questions? He did say no. He said, we have alleged that those statements are false. He's speaking for the organization. By the way, he's the interim CEO. So he wasn't even the person making these decisions. The CEO has stepped down. This is an interim member. This is not, and they chose him because he wasn't involved. So this is a person that wasn't even involved in any of this shit. And they know that. So why is he here, Toker? We're close. Answer honestly. Don't do partisan shit today, Toker. I'm really trying. Don't do the partisan answer. Don't try and come up with something clever. Just use your brain and say, why would they bring somebody here that can't answer these questions and then they ask him these questions? For show? I see some of you. Can we agree, Toker, that... No, Toker, you got to answer this question or I'll ban you forever. Did they bring him here for show or are they getting something done? You're just saying what the SPLC did more to promote racism than any group out there. See, like, no, we're not doing that. You got to answer this question. I've given you a lot of leeway. Both. No, both. What do you mean both? All right, I'll take it. Both. All right, so we agree. He can't answer the questions. That's why he's here. They're smearing him. Is that not weaponization of the government, Toker? If you're using your platform as the government to go after a private entity and you are smearing them publicly before they have a case in court, is this not weaponization? Can somebody point to a statute in the Constitution that says that, like, this is the role of Congress? This is some of the most obvious weaponization I've ever seen. It's a full-on media smear campaign disguised as a congressional hearing. They can't get any information out of this. They will gain nothing from this. And there's a court case, which is where we're supposed to decide if somebody's innocent or guilty. You point to a statute, Princeton boy? It doesn't exist. I can't point to statutes that don't exist. I went to Princeton. I graduated magna cum badass, and I have 8 buildings named after me at Princeton. Don't look it up, but it's true.
Mr. Chairman, what I've learned about Fox photography.
Everyone does it. Blee, give me an example of the times the Democrats did this. So in order for you to back that up, you just have to tell me a time that Democrats had a congressional hearing when there was a pending case, and they brought in the people from that pending case and asked them a bunch of questions they couldn't answer. Thank you. I agree, by the way, that this does happen. But generally, it's people in the government that they're going after. This is a private entity. You'd have to give me an example of a private entity that Democrats trotted out and did this to. Could have happened. Probably has happened at some point. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
I've learned from counsel.
Everyone, no, muted. You're 5 minutes. You have a 5-minute mute unless your next comment is an example or an apology.
In conversations with counsel.
How about Northwest Technologies?
And they're covered by the
I
attorney-client.
hope you're getting paid. No private entity should be bigger than the government. Ooh, we got a communist here. There we go. I love that.
Privilege.
No, I'm not. These are. Well, did the Southern Poverty Law Center establish shell companies to pay to run the money through to then pay the field sources?
Again.
Toker, we will see you. 24-hour ban for Toker. Won't answer the question. Oh, wait, you did answer the question. Never mind. Yes, they are private. Never mind. I'm sorry. That was my bad. You did answer. I'm sorry, though, Toker. Is this a publicly traded company, the SPLC?
All of the allegations that you are referring to, Chairman Jordan, will be...
Well, how about
so
this?
It's a nonprofit, right? Not publicly traded, which would be private. Nonprofits are private, right?
By our counsel in the Middle District of Alabama.
Did you pay the field sources directly, or did you pay them through an intermediary?
Mr. Chairman Jordan?
Yep.
Our counsel will respond to all the allegations in the indictment in the case pending in the Middle District.
Well, there's all these companies that you sent money to. Center Investigative Agency, not the CIA, but your CIA. Fox Photography, Northwest Technologies, Tech Writers Group, Rare Books Warehouses, Imagery Link, J&J Electronics, and Kelly's Marine.
Did you see that Sam Bankman-Fried officially applied for a pardon? Yeah, I saw that. If he gets a pardon, that's going to be crazy. Thank you, Tanya, for the pizza.
Just want to know if that was the intermediate shell companies that you guys set up to pay the field sources. Is that true?
Will the good chairman yield for just a moment?
I got just a minute and a half, and then I'll be happy to entertain a question you may
Chairman
have.
Jordan, our counsel will respond to all the allegations in the Middle District of Alabama.
Okay.
As the process allows.
Were Republicans wrong about slavery? I don't think you know how slavery ended, and I don't think you know Abraham Lincoln's position on slavery. I would go back and just look at his position and re-ask that question in a way that could be answered.
Did you do it all for the money? I mean, you said now, I think the Southern Poverty Law Center said you're no longer,
He wasn't in charge.
going to use these field sources. You're going to stop the program, but you did it for multiple years, and according to the indictment, it was $4 million that you shelled out to these various field sources to engage in all the activities I just read.
As we
I'm just
said
wondering,
in
was it all about the money?
As we said in our public statement.
Yeah, for investigation, it was about the court cases. You would pay you would pay informants for money? How does that? Can you explain that? What is Jim Jordan saying here? Did you give away $4 million because it was all for the money? Is there an alleged return on investment on that $4 million? What does that mean? What is he even asking there?
Chairman Jordan, we did it to protect our staff and to protect the public.
Did fundraising increase after paying people to stay in these groups who actually wanted out of them? Did your fundraising increase? Did the donations coming in increase?
Stay, keep going. Go look at Abraham Lincoln's position when he ran for president on how to address slavery. That's what we're getting at. You just do a little more research. He did not run on I'm going to end slavery and free black people. Just go look at his position.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to when you say.
How about this? After the crazy Charlottesville rally, did fundraising go up?
Mr. Chairman, our fundraising.
After a group of neo-Nazis tried to keep a prominent Confederate statue up and then got into a fight where somebody was murdered by a white supremacist driving his car into them. Did fundraising go up after that? Well, I would fucking hope so. How would it not? There were literally Nazis in the street chanting, "Jews will not replace us," doing Sig Heils. Yeah, of course. Of course fundraising went up. And what they're going to say is that what they're trying to do is they're trying to pin everything from Charlottesville on whether or not the SPLC had paid informants in the crowd. That's a stretch. That's why this case is fucked. That's why they're litigating it here in front of the public, because in courts, like you can't prove any of this stuff.
Went up.
Fundraising where one of your field sources helped coordinate transportation.
Our fundraising went up when President Donald Trump was elected in 2016.
Fundraising go up after you paid a field source to coordinate the transportation.
Why did people want to combat racism after Trump got elected, I wonder?
At an event in Charlottesville where a person was killed. That's what I'm asking. Did it go up? Because according to what we know, you went from 51 million to 133 million in 1 year.
And that happened when President Donald Trump was elected.
Who's the president of the National Socialist Party?
I don't even know who that is.
You know? You paid him $70,000. He was field source number 30. I just want to know who he is. Do you know who he is?
Mr. Chairman, that's an allegation in the indictment that will be responded to by counsel in the Middle District of Alabama.
My time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Bert Colucci. He took control in 2019. He succeeded longtime leader Jeff Shupp, who briefly handed the group's legal ownership to a black civil rights activist, James Hart Stern, in an attempt to dismantle it. Okay. So it looks like they succeeded in turning leadership over, and then Colucci retained control of the organization's online presence and continued operating the National Socialist Movement as a neo-Nazi group. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. That's crazy. So this is going to be a fascinating case. So they actually did it. They actually infiltrated the Nazis, got Jeff Schoep, Schoep, to hand the group's legal ownership over to James Hart Stern. But Colucci was able to convince all of his fellow Nazis that, hey, this black civil rights activist, James Stern, isn't one of us. That's crazy. I didn't know that they succeeded. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's see. All right, moving on. Okay. I wanted to I'm going to admit something here that all of my friends from history or history buff friends are going to be upset with me. And I think this goes to prove what I said earlier, that my awareness of Israel's involvement in foreign policy basically showed up in like 2024. That's basically when I became aware that Israel fucks up all of our shit. So hardly the expert here, and I'm about to tell you a really long story that maybe all of you know, maybe you don't. I apologize if you do. I found it fascinating, and while I was prepping for the show, for like an hour and a half, I was looking into this stuff. I got distracted with ADHD, and then I was like, oh shit, maybe I'll just write this into the show. So that's what we have. This is a man named George Galloway, and I'll tell you about George Galloway here in a minute. He was a member of Parliament in the UK for years. And I just saw this clip, and this is how I was introduced to him. I don't know. I don't remember what the clip says, but this is how I was introduced to George Galloway this morning.
These slave satraps do to deserve this hatred from your president. They have invested, according to Trump, we never actually get to see the money, like the money of the Board of Peace, 1.25.
Not him, horrible man. Okay, you're gonna tell me what's horrible about him. I didn't get to his recent stuff. There's some allegations in here. We'll talk about that. I want to go through his whole history, but
$5 billion of which was transferred this day from the American Treasury to an account in Qatar in Donald Trump's personal name. Are you idiots, you Americans? I mean, how stupid can you be? He's been grifting all of his life, but now he's just taking it. But according to Trump, they've been...
For the record, I'm going to tell you the story of George Galloway. I don't have an opinion on George Galloway. You guys can make up your opinion as we go through this, like I did this morning. Some are saying huge grifter. Let me just say that to me is the same. That doesn't carry a lot of weight. I'm sure you have evidence. Like I'm sure you have evidence to back that up. But like considering that everybody who's ever criticized on the internet is called a grifter, I don't know that. Like, and by the way, I don't think somebody being a grifter is evidence that they're a very bad person. I think it's evidence that they're a grifter. But again, I'm not making a judgment here. I just didn't know much about this guy, and there's a lot of things he did that one, really fucking cool things, and two, show how long this has been going on.
Invested trillions of dollars in your economy, according to Trump. They gave him diamonds and pearls. We saw the 747 aircraft that he left his recent trip to the Gulf on. Gifted, he clearly told us, not to the United States, but to him personally. These countries.
All right, let's talk about his airplane, though. Remember that was going to be given for Air Force One, but his kids use it all the time? And for some reason, somehow that airplane is going to be his? It's supposed to sit in his presidential library? It is not the government's airplane. It's his. We got to stop pretending that just because Trump says that was given to the government and the Republicans are like, it's for the government. It's not. It's his.
Have not just not received the protection that they were paying in the protection racket for. They are now about to be obliterated. All
right. So that's how I was introduced to him. And I was like, who is this guy? I like what he's saying. I don't know a goddamn thing about George Galloway. His outfit is a little Roger Stoney for me. I'm like, goddamn, this guy might be a lunatic. And he might be. But I want to tell you about George Galloway because once I started reading about him, his life is pretty fucking wild. Damien, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you. And for everybody else out there, just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. So anything you can do to help us knock out our daily gift goal would be greatly appreciated. I'll update the total there right now. We rely on your generosity to continue this show every single day. And as a reminder to all of our paid subscribers, you can be a paid subscriber on TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch. We have a members-only event tomorrow night. We're going to watch Snowden. And while we watch it, we chat in the Discord. It's a lot of fun. I hope you guys can join us. For those of you who haven't, just give it a shot one time. There's only been like 30-ish people there every night. I'd love to see more of you. I know a lot of you just subscribe to support us, and I appreciate you just as much. But if you're bored, come hang out. It's a lot of fun. I get blitzed, and Jen tells more personal stories, and it's a good time. Anyway, so here's George Galloway, born in 1954, a British politician, broadcaster, and writer. He's been the leader of the Workers' Party of Britain since he founded it in 2019, and is the former leader of the Respect Party until 2003. He was a member of the Labour Party. So I want to get down to some of the stuff that I highlighted. From 1983 to 1987, Galloway was the General Secretary of War on Want, which is a British charity campaigning against poverty worldwide. Cool. I like that. In that post, he traveled widely, wrote eyewitness accounts of famine in Eritrea in 1985, which were published in the Sunday Times and the Spectator. His deputy at the charity, Simon Stalker, recalled, if you went into a fight with George, you knew you would never walk out with a win. Now, again, not an expert on George Galloway here. I do want to show what happens when you speak against powerful people, though. What you'll notice here is as we go through his history, there will be something that he did, an accusation. And the accusation you will recognize as the exact accusations that are hurled now at anybody who criticizes Israel. From 87 to 2005, he was the MP for Glasgow, Hillhead, and Kelvin. He was asked by a journalist about his relationship once while he was on the war, during the War on Want conference in the Greek island of Mykonos, because a bunch of news organizations were trying to shut him up by saying that he cheated on his wife. Tell me if you've heard that before. Isn't that exactly what they're doing to Graham Plattner right now? Did Graham Plattner cheat on his wife? He did. Did he admit it? He did. What did George Galloway do? He played it the right way. I traveled to and spent time in Greece with lots of people, many of whom were women, some of whom were known carnally to me. I actually had sexual intercourse with some people, some of the people in Greece. And if the British public and BBC Scotland think that's of interest, they are welcome to broadcast it. Sounds like a shitty husband. Right? But why are they making those claims about him? Because he's out there. The war on want was an attack on the elites. And he highlighted the way that people suffer and die and the elites live in luxury. So who would want that silence? Same people, right? We're going to move down here. Let me go here. He then got, is it further down here? I might not have highlighted it. All right. In January of 1994, Galloway faced some of the strongest criticism for a Middle Eastern trip during which he met Saddam Hussein. Now, I think in America, we generally see Saddam Hussein as a bad guy. I think he was a bad guy. I think that in 1994, he would be viewed as enemy by the United States. When was the Iran-Iraq conflict when we sided with Saddam Hussein? That was before that, right? So this is post Desert Storm. Maybe it's during, but Desert Storm. I don't remember the exact dates of Desert Storm. At his meeting with the Iraqi president, Galloway told Saddam Hussein this, and this is a fair criticism, maybe. Your Excellency, Mr. President, I greet you in the name of the many thousands of people in Britain who stood against the tide and opposed the war. I greet you, too, in the name of the Palestinian people. I thought the president would appreciate knowing that even today, 3 years after the war, I still meet families who are calling their newborn son Saddam. Sir, I salute your courage, your strength, your indefatigability. I've never heard that word in my life. And I want you to know that we are with you until victory, until Jerusalem. At the time, Desert Storm was 91. At the time, you can see how he would be a very controversial figure. But what happened to Saddam Hussein? One, we betrayed him. We fought with him, then we fought against him. We fought against him on behalf of who? Israel. They were the big bad Muslims. I think that going back with hindsight, this would have been a popular opinion. That despite the criticisms of Saddam Hussein and despite us viewing him as a poor leader, we would not advocate that the United States military and the UK military invade Iraq and murder innocent Iraqis. Right? That's how we feel about Iran. And what's the criticism for us with Iran? Oh, so you think Iran's good? No, I just don't think innocent people should die. It's always the case. And every time it's the same playbook. Every time it's the same playbook. Oh, you're rooting for the enemy and oh, here's a bunch of dirt. George Galloway played it the right way. During Galloway's 2004 defamation case against the Daily Telegraph, the paper's defense Queen's Counsel accused Galloway of having fawned over Saddam Hussein during their meeting in 1994. I mean, you can see this. They do this with Trump. When Trump goes and meets with Putin, he meets with Kim Jong-un, he meets with Xi, he fawns over him. He did it with Mamdani. Anybody who has more charisma or has more power than him, he fawns over them. I think same criticism there. Labor leader John Smith said, I deeply deplore the foolish statement made in Iraq by George Galloway. In no way did he speak for the Labor Party, and I wholly reject his comments. Just imagine this is Chuck Schumer. What did he say that was so bad there? I greet you with on behalf of the people in Britain who stood against the tide and opposed this war. There's people in your country that still like you. Salute your courage, your strength, You're I'm not even indefatigability. Oh, is that like he doesn't get fatigued? Indefatigability? Indefatigability? Is that how you say that? Root word's fatigue? Yeah, duh. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate that. Galloway said that he was saluting the Iraqi people rather than Saddam Hussein, and Galloway's friend, honest Alec Tria, observed that this was how it was translated for Saddam Hussein. So it looks like they took this out of context and tried to smear him, not because of anything that he said was wrong, but because how dare he stand against powerful people who invaded a foreign country. After his return, Galloway was given a severe reprimand and final warning by the Labor Chief Whip, Derek Foster. For his meeting with Saddam, he then got a nickname. Where have we seen that? The MP for Baghdad North. When he spoke before the U.S. Senate, our Senate brought him in front of the Senate. On May 17, 2005, Galloway said that he had met Saddam Hussein exactly the same number of times as Donald Rumsfeld met him. But the difference is Donald Rumsfeld met him to sell him guns. I met him to try and bring about an end to sanctions, suffering, and war. That's fucking incredible. And there's clips from this. I have a clip from this Senate hearing. He was miles ahead of Republicans, but it's the same fucking plan here. They bring somebody in to criticize him for meeting with Saddam Hussein. He's like, remember that video? There's the video of Donald Rumsfeld like hugging Saddam Hussein. And then we were just trapped, like selling him weapons. And then we turned on him. Yeah, you could say the same thing, but Donald Rumsfeld was a Republican there, very well-respected Republican at that time. Became even more well-respected when Daddy Bush's son came into office. Here is a clip from the Senate hearing, and you can see here. Fix the image. Make this HD. Have him responding to John Toon here. This could be easily you could easily confuse this for today.
Is a proven fact. It's a proven fact that these forged documents existed and were being circulated amongst right.
He's talking about forged documents being circulated throughout, I believe it was through Iraq or Israel here. So propaganda being spread to sow anger towards their government, just like we did in Iran. You know those 30,000 alleged people that were murdered? Who funded that? That was us, and that was Israel. We funded that. We infiltrated. We do this everywhere. This is what we do. So that's a fair criticism. Like, why is our footprint on all of these rebellions?
Wing newspaper.
Like your indefatigability getting blitzed on Discord. Fuck, am I getting killed in Discord? There's smart people in Discord. Fuck you guys, making me feel dumb. Pink said, when is your door not a door? When it's a jar. That's a good point.
Papers in Baghdad and around the world in the immediate aftermath of the fall of the Iraqi regime. Now, Senator, I gave my heart and soul to oppose the policy that you promoted. I gave my political life's blood to try to stop the mass killing of Iraqis by the sanctions on Iraq, which killed 1 million Iraqis, most of them children. Most of them died before they even knew that they were Iraqis. But they died for no other reason other than that they were Iraqis.
Change it to Iranians. Change it to Palestinians. And we just keep doing this. It's always conservatives, not always just Republicans. Some Democrats as well. It's always conservatives scaring us into a war and demonizing anybody who has the audacity to be like, hey, maybe we don't murder innocent people.
With the misfortune to be born.
I keep calling him Scott Galloway. I'm sorry, George Galloway. Sorry. Scott Galloway. Maybe that's why somebody said he was a grifter earlier. I'm sorry. Maybe that's why you called him a grifter. Scott Galloway might be a grifter.
That time. I gave my heart and soul to stop you committing the disaster that you did commit in invading Iraq. And I told the world that your case for the war was a pack of lies. I told the world that Iraq, contrary to your claims, did not have weapons of mass destruction.
Okay, was he right or wrong? We should have agreement here. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, everybody knows he's right here, right? Everybody is aware that he was right about this. He was right that we shouldn't have went into Iraq. He was right about the weapons of mass destruction. Amazing how history remembers him, but he still broadly, like if you go look at the first video I played and you see the comments under him, you're like, oh, this guy, he's been a liar since the beginning. He's on the side of the radical Islamic terrorists. That's what they all say. But he was right. So far, everything that I've covered, he was right on.
I told the world, contrary to your claims, that Iraq had no
Maybe wait to smoke until after the show. I did not smoke
connection
this
to
morning.
Al-Qaeda. I told the world, contrary to your claims, that Iraq had no connection to the atrocity on 9/11/2001. I told the world, contrary to your claims, that the Iraqi people would resist a British and American invasion of their country, and that the fall of Baghdad would not be the beginning of the end, but merely the end of the beginning. Senator, in everything I said about Iraq, I turned out to be right, and you turned out to be wrong. And 100,000 people have paid with their lives. 1,600 of them American soldiers sent to their deaths on a pack of lies. 15,000 of them wounded, many of them disabled forever on a pack of lies. If the world had listened to Kofi Annan, whose dismissal you demanded, if the world had listened to President Chirac, who you want to paint as some kind of corrupt traitor.
President Chirac was the president of France, who also was demolished in the press and seen as an adversary to the United States for advocating that we not join the Iraq war.
If the world had listened to me and the anti-war movement in Britain, we would not be in the disaster that
Who's he speaking to? This is the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which is a mouthful. But he's speaking to a subcommittee with the U.S. Senate.
In today. Senator, this is the mother of all smokescreens. You are trying to divert attention from the crimes that you supported, from the theft of billions of dollars of Iraq's wealth. Have a look at the real oil for food scandal. Have a look at the...
Now, he's talking about this real oil for food scandal because one of the things that they brought him in for was, again, an attempt to smear. He founded a group called the Merriam Appeal, which, according to his website, on their welcome page, their goal was to campaign against sanctions on Iraq, which are having disastrous effects on the ordinary people of Iraq. The campaign was named after Mariam Hamza, a child flown by the fund from Iraq to Britain to receive treatment for leukemia. The intention was to raise awareness of the suffering and death of hundreds of thousands of other Iraqi children due to poor health conditions and lack of suitable medicines and facilities, and to campaign for the lifting of the Iraq sanctions that many maintained were responsible for that situation. I mean, God, has it ever been more apparent? Like, we played that clip from Patrick Bet-David yesterday where Patrick Bet-David was blown away. He's like, how come Iran is not doing as well as the Saudis? And Betty's like, sanctions. And he's like, so it's our fault? Yeah. Yep. That's how it works. If you sanction a country's economy to the point that they no longer can export and they no longer and they rely on that export money to survive, then yep, that's on you. And that's what we did to Iraq too, and that's what he was advocating against. Because you might say that the leader of Iraq at that point was Saddam Hussein is a bad guy, but what you're effectively doing is killing people. And if Saddam Hussein's such a bad guy, like the Ayatollah, they didn't really give a fuck. They're like, it's fine. You can starve my people. I'm going to live. And every time one of these people dies, every time somebody loses a child, they are radicalized for me. The people don't get radicalized for other countries. They get radicalized. They're the ones that are starving. They're the ones that are losing their family. And their leaders are like, hey, we would love to sell more oil. We'd love to be able to help you, but we can't because sanctions. So then they get more and more upset with the United States, and you have this cycle. And this is why all these military defense contractors and the military industrial complex spend so much money lobbying Republicans and moderate Democrats, because this type of rhetoric, this type of that guy bad, keeps the money flowing for them. It's 2026. This is he started this program in 1999. He started speaking out about this in the 80s. And he's right. And we're still going to have Republicans running on, Oh, there's bad Cuba. Oh, watch out for Cuba. We better go and slap sanctions on Cuba and steal all their resources.
14 months you were in charge of Baghdad, the first 14 months, when $8.8 billion of Iraq's wealth went missing on your watch. Have a look at Halliburton and the other American corporations that stole not only Iraq's money, but the money of the American taxpayer. Have a look at the oil that you didn't even meter, that you were shipping out of the country and selling. The proceeds.
Remember freedom fries? Yeah. Forgot about freedom fries. That's right. That's right. That's what this was about. Because the French president, I can't remember his name again. Actually, I have it. Jacques Chirac. We started calling French fries freedom fries. I forgot all about that. Chris said, "Stop Citizens United, transparentelection.org." Thank you, Chris.
Of which went who knows where. Have a look at the $800 million you gave to American military commanders to hand out around the country without even counting it or weighing it. Have a look at the real scandal breaking in the newspapers today, revealed in the earlier testimony in this committee.
Oh, sorry. Lee said, "I appreciate all of your hard work." Thanks. Thank you. And thank you, W. Lee, in the chat for the $50 donation over on Venmo. Appreciate that very much. Always very supportive, and we appreciate you.
That the biggest sanctions busters were not me or Russian politicians or French politicians. The real sanctions busters were your own companies with the connivance of your own government.
All right. Yeah. Put that in HD, and all of that is applicable today. And we're still, for some reason, we still have like a majority of the members of our Congress who would probably hate George Galloway. He mentioned Jacques Chirac, who, again, I guess we forgot about his connection to freedom fries. Let me see. Let me scroll up real quick. All right. This was the part I wanted to get from his Wikipedia here. Chirac was the supreme commander of the French armed forces. He reduced the military budget, as did his predecessor. At the end of his first term, it accounted for 3% of the GDP. In 1997, the aircraft carrier Clemenceau was decommissioned after 37 years of service with her sister ship Polk. Decommissioned in 2000 after 37 years of service, leaving the French Navy with no aircraft carrier until 2001 when de Gaulle was commissioned. He also reduced expenditure on nuclear weapons, and the French nuclear arsenal was reduced to include 350 warheads, compared to the Russian nuclear arsenal of 16,000 warheads. He also published a plan to reduce the number of fighters the French military had by 30. And he refused to join in with NATO and Tony Blair and George Bush in invading Iraq. And then this was one of the criticisms against him, and I thought this was interesting. Let me go back to this because it was 66. Yeah, here it is. So Chirac, back there. Chirac criticized the Israeli offensive into Lebanon. This is pretty cool because we currently have an Israeli offensive in Lebanon right now. So you can imagine this is happening right now on July 14, 2006. However, Israeli Army radio later reported that Chirac had secretly told Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert that France would support an invasion of Syria and the overthrow of the government of President Bashar al-Assad, promising to veto any moves against Israel in the UN or European Union. I was like, that's weird. Like, this is a weird accusation here, because with his foreign policy, he was criticized of being too close to Vladimir Putin. He was a leading voice against Bush and Tony Blair during the organization and deployment of American and British forces participating in a military coalition to forcibly remove the government of Iraq and Saddam Hussein. And despite the pressure from British and Americans, Chirac threatened to veto, at that point, a resolution in the UN Security Council that would authorize the use of military force to rid Iraq of alleged weapons of mass destructions, and rallied other governments to his position. Iraq today does not represent an immediate and threat that justifies an immediate war. It sounds exactly like Iran, right? There was no imminent threat there. And so when I get down here and it's like, well, Chirac criticized the Israeli offensive into Lebanon. However, this Israeli army radio later reported that he secretly told Prime Minister Ehud Olmert that France would support the Israeli invasion of Syria and overthrow the government of Bashar al-Assad, promising to veto any moves against Israel in the United Nations or European Union. I thought, where's that source? Who do you think that source is from? Took 2 seconds. Army radio reported Sunday that French President Jacques Chirac contacted Prime Minister Ehud Olmert via a secret channel at the very beginning of the war in Lebanon. He informed him that France would support an Israeli invasion of Syria. So publicly he's saying, don't support it. I'm not going to support it. And then there's this source. Chirac asked that Israel act to topple the Assad regime and promised in return to block any moves against Israel within the UN or UN or European Union. Here's the source. Chirac saw Syria as the primary one responsible for the arming of Hezbollah, Israel's former ambassador to France, Nissim Zvili, told Army Radio. So Chirac is never on the record saying any of this. You can't find him saying this. He denied all of this. The former ambassador to France is the source here from Israel. And what did he say? He said that all of this is the fault of Hezbollah. What did you say? Look at the propaganda ad about Hamas on the right. Israel's under fire. Yeah. This is who the source was. See how Israel just lies and lies and lies and smears and smears and smears. Anybody who says stop being genocidal, they just take them down. All right. I want to go back up here. I can skip that, actually. All right. Now let's move to where we're at now. And let's see if this propaganda is exactly the fucking same. This is Donald Trump last night. Before he fucked up. By the way, sorry, Knicks fans. Sorry to all of you. Donald Trump fucked up your whole shit. Everybody's fighting now. They did not want Trump anywhere near there. But he went and he attended the NBA game there. I'll actually just play this because I think this is silly. This is what he says happened when he went to the game.
No.
What did you think of the reception you got from the Knicks fans tonight?
I thought great. I mean, I thought it was amazing, actually. You mean when they had the camera on me? I thought it was very good, yeah. It was certainly amazing. It was I think, mostly cheers.
Mostly cheers.
It was loud and it was very enthusiastic.
All right, loud and enthusiastic cheers. Let's fact check that real quick. Mostly cheers. Mostly cheers. I don't know about that. Anyways, then he was asked about Iran, and repeated the same shit he's said at least 20 times. Aaron Rupar found 20 times he has said this exact same thing since March. I think March 5th.
2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks?
2 or 3 days.
You'll be signing a peace agreement?
No, we have a good chance of doing it. We should be able to do it in 1 hour, if you want to know the truth.
What's the biggest sticking point right now?
I don't think there are any sticking points. I think we're very close to having a very, very good, strong, powerful deal. If we go and bomb, which we can do very easily if we want.
How would you be close to having a deal and not have a deal if there's no sticking points? The sticking points would be why you don't have a deal. He is the world's greatest deal maker, though. He wrote Art of the Deal, so he must know what he's talking about.
And we spend another 2 or 3 weeks bombing. They'll have nothing left whatsoever, but you won't have the strait open for months. If we do the bombing, a lot of people are going to be killed. Who wants to do that? I don't. And the bombing. What has proven to be a very powerful thing is the blockade. The blockades turned out to be much stronger than bombing. And it was really a combination. It was our initial thrust and then the blockade. But, their economy is really suffering. And
taking credit for the blockade. They shut down the fucking strait. This is crazy. Our blockade has been going really well. No, it hasn't. They shut it down. It's not going that well. If it was, Iran would be making a deal, but they're not. This was yesterday, so the 2 to 3 days. I mean, I assume that Wednesday, Thursday, so Friday we'll have a deal for sure. It definitely won't go through the weekend, and if not by Friday on Monday, it's certain to be here. Not everybody's happy with Donald Trump, and this made me laugh because this is exactly what we just saw with George Galloway, and this is exactly what all of these Zionists do now. Mark Levin is fucking pissed. He is so mad that his Zionist overlords aren't getting their way that he is now turning against Trump. This is from his radio show, so that's why the still picture, but here we go.
The President of the United States feels the need to keep going to left-wing reporters.
Do I do this ridiculous stick all day? No, I usually finish about 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then I usually head over to your dad's house to put it in him. So not all day, just until the afternoon.
And talking about confidential conversations he has with the Prime Minister of Israel. And I don't know why he keeps bashing the Prime Minister of Israel, who's trying to protect his country and his own people. Just a few weeks ago, their fighter jets were fighting right alongside ours. The Mossad was working with the CIA.
Oh, no shit, we're turning on someone? Not the United States military. Not you, Mark Levin, being surprised that the United States military doesn't stick to one side.
And, of course, the Prime Minister was working with the President in what was a spectacular military operation. I know the President is...
What was spectacular about this military operation? Anybody want to point to the massive successes we've had?
...is deeply desperate for a deal. The Iranians know he's deeply desperate for a deal. The whole world knows he's deeply desperate for a deal. Got it. But the problem is the state of Israel is in the neighborhood. And when Hezbollah is shooting...
Trump's desperate, guys, because he can't win. But what about Israel? We should probably just keep doing this forever because now the Iranians are going to be mad at Israel for bombing them. Yeah, probably. They did just hit Israel with a bunch of ICBMs. Was that the 8th? That yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, I'd be mad too if I was Iran.
Thousands of missiles into the state of Israel and tens of thousands of drones since the ceasefire 9 weeks ago on April 8th. And Israel's told it can only fight a defensive war, and Israel's told to stay away from Beirut, even though the head of the snake is right outside of Beirut. And even in entry, I want you to think of New Jersey, and the top 20-25% of New Jersey has to be pushed back. Hundreds of thousands of people depopulated. And then they're told they can...
I know we're not talking about Israel and moving people back in depopulation. I know we're not. I know we're not doing this. I know, Mark Levin, that you are not talking about these things.
Can only fight so much to stop it. The hypocrisy of our country that wouldn't put up with it in the treatment of that country is ridiculous.
Well, those poor Israelis. They keep getting consequences for their actions. It's not fair. They can do a genocide, but if somebody gets mad about that genocide, well, they're a small little country. They have the right to defend themselves for doing a genocide.
In fact, we don't ask any other country to...
The way Jay is a Nick Bosa fan, we will not do that. Let's go Buffs. I will take a lot of shit from the audience. We will not call me a Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa fan. How dare you? Every time I play Madden, every time, I pick the 49ers, and the first thing I do is trade Nick Bosa. Every fucking time. Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, out.
Do that. None. So why the constant beating up of Netanyahu? He wants to defeat the regime in Iran.
It's just because he's a genocidal maniac, I think, an evil dictator. That's probably why.
We do not. We've decided not. We've decided, at least for now, maybe next week it'll change, we're not going to use our military to enforce anything except if they take action against us. So,
no shit. We're only going to use our military if people attack us? Crazy. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, that sounds an awful lot like the America First thing you were beaten off to before. How come all you America First people are like, well, but it's actually Israel first? What do you mean you're not going to protect Israel? What do you mean you're only going to attack people who attack you? What are we going to do about this? You needed to tell Benjamin Netanyahu before the war that you were going to abandon him. Well, don't get into bed with the United States military. That's my recommendation. They will stab you in the back the second polling moves. And that's, let's be honest, that's what fucking happened. We don't suddenly have a MAGA movement that found a conscience. We don't suddenly have Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth like, oh, actually, we think that we need to take a more metered approach to this. No. You're getting dick kicked in the polls. And so you're like, oh, actually, we are America First now. And Mark Levin's like, what the fuck? I thought I had this. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, Trump was literally in front of, he was in front of microphones and he's like, Mark Levin is the smartest man in America. Some version of that. Like, there is nobody that knows this issue more than Mark Levin and he loves me. And now Mark Levin's like, fuck this guy. Why is he not giving all our resources to Israel?
Obviously, if you're the Israelis and they're firing weapons into your country and you want to take action,
That's true. Ben-Gvir is worse than Netanyahu. Just, yeah.
Would do exactly the same thing, would we not? Even more. So Rand's figured this out. So they fired 11 ballistic missiles into Israel. Ballistic missiles that can blow a city block off the face of the earth. The size of school buses.
Yeah, the same. Yeah. Yeah. What are we going to do with a country that blows city blocks off the earth? What about all those missiles we hit Iran with? What about the missiles they sent to Iran? Those didn't do any damage? What trying to pull up this picture. I don't want to talk about I don't want to be too harsh on Israel here because they're such cool people. TikTok is awesome. But if we want to talk about like wiping city blocks off the map, this before and after is a bit shocking. That's a little bit more than a city block there.
I can't believe they retaliated.
Ah, fuck. Let's get rid of that. Bitch. I have to find it right in the middle of my voice too, right when I was going. Here's. Oh.
Each one carries 2,000 pounds. So Israel prepares to fight back, and they get a call telling them they shouldn't. But if they do, to be very limited about it. So they go in and they hammer the hell out of them. And they want to finish the job, but they're pulled back by us. They're told, no, you come back. You want to be alone? You want to be the only ones?
Cool. Good. Good. Lowest fucking bar ever, but like the Trump administration just snuck under the lowest bar possible. Good. Yeah. Tell them to knock it the fuck off. That's a good start with Israel. Hey, stop it. You stop that right now. Good.
We didn't do anything.
Ed Wayne, brother, I've already answered this question for you. I covered the U.S.-Israel military collaboration stuff last week. We're not going to talk about it every single day, but you can go back and watch episodes from last week, or you can go to a different place that's covering it currently. Thank you.
Anything much to support their effort. In fact, there was an announcement from the White House last night saying we had nothing to do with this. Our military's not involved. And I commented, well, that's nothing to be proud of. They were fighting alongside of us when we asked them to join us in our efforts.
Yeah, perhaps fighting alongside Israel isn't a point of pride for anybody. Perhaps fighting alongside Israel isn't a good look. We're going to bury Israel. That's the crazy thing about like being here and being Americans, and like as critical as we are of Israel, and plenty critical, they're going to take all the blame. American politicians aren't really going to take the blame for this. It was us. We bombed Iran. That was our plane that they bravely flew for 30 hours or whatever the fuck, how many hours it was. We did it. Like we blew up that girls' school. We've been murdering Iranians, but we're going to when we eventually back out of this, We'll be like, it was Israel's fault. And like Israel's to blame as well, but we're not going to take our blame. We're not going to take our part in this. Republicans will be like, we had the right intentions, but Israel misled us. And then they'll just like 10 years from now, Israel's going to drag our ass in another war led by Republicans, hopefully 20 or 30 years from now. And they'll just pretend like it's new. No, this time they are an imminent threat. Yeah, they are coming after us. They do have weapons of mass destruction this time. I know that the last 54 fucking times that Israel told us that we were in danger, we weren't. But this time, we're totally in danger.
And of course, Iran sees all this. But Tyrus on Fox, on the 5. I've only talked to him once, I think, for a book interview, Mr. Producer. We've had him on. Very nice man. Actually,
what was Tyrus? He was like a professional wrestler. That's crazy. That guy's on a news channel.
Really sharp. And about an hour ago on Fox, the 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, Edwin. I thought maybe you were somebody else that asked that question earlier. I was a dick. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I've got some of it. My bad, though, dude. I was a dick. I thought you were the same person who was spamming that earlier today.
He said this. Cut 21. Go.
Iran they're counting us to be like the America they've had dealt with for decades. They're looking at how Afghanistan, well, maybe when America leaves, they'll leave us tanks and helicopters too. We just have to wait this out. I think in America, it's easy for us to say, oh, this what's going on over there but the people who live in Israel, this is their front yard and their backyard. And they see, and it's hard.
No, it's not, because you own your front yard and you own your backyard. This is your neighbor's backyard, and this is your neighbor's front yard. If it's not in your country, it's not your front yard. How borders work.
To hold it against them and their government against them, like they can finally end this. Iran's best friend in this whole situation is President Trump, because he's the only one consistently saying, hey, we're going to come to the table, and Iran shoots at a ship. Okay, cool. We'll just blow up the guys who did it, but we're still willing to be at the table. If President Trump said, you know what, Israel and a lot of the Kuwait and a lot of the places that Iran fired at, he said, you know what, you guys handle it, there would be no more Iran. It would be completely, Iran's best friend in this situation is the United States, because they're the only one who can say to Israel right now, it's like, hey, stop firing.
I don't know. I have a couple people in my life I would consider best friends. I wouldn't consider somebody my best friend if they were constantly like beating the shit out of me, but then they were like, but I let you live, and if I get out of the way, then you're gonna die. That's just an abusive relationship, and you should get out of that. That's not a good friend. That's a dog shit friend. We are not their best friend. I'm concerned about Tyrus's life and who he considers friends. That's not a friend. It's a evil. It's called narcissism.
And
by the way, the guy on Fox. Oh, I got shit. Sorry.
That's a lot to ask a country after. Forget just October 7th. Look, forget the national, worldwide campaign against them. This type of stuff we've seen here in America and our college campuses all around the world. So I sympathize with.
How are there still people that are like, this is it's such unfair criticism about Israel? Bro, they did a genocide. And like while they were doing the genocide, they're like, it's not a genocide. But you're doing it. That's the genocide you're doing. We're watching the genocide. See how you're killing all those people? Yeah, we're not, we have every right to defend ourselves. Yeah, but you're not defending yourselves. You're doing a genocide. Right? October 7th is over. You're not, those are kids. All those people lined up that you put in an open in a hole and then covered up with dirt. Like a lot of those were kids that were just going to get food, and then your snipers shot them in the head. And we have evidence of that. We have pictures of it. We have reporting on the ground. But yeah, you did a genocide. And they're like, yeah, but October 7th. And we're still going to like point to, it was really unfair that these students at the schools were so critical of Israel. Like everybody, like this issue is flipped so much. I can't believe Fox is even taking this position. This is I mean, payroll for sure, right? Israel payroll for sure. Tyrus. There's nobody who's watching this objectively who's like, oh, actually, I'm still pretty pro-Israel.
Israel's need to want to be safe and free. And for us, we sit on the other side of the ocean going, well, this needs to stop. So Iran, if you have any brains left in, what did you call him again?
The gay Ayatollah.
The gay Ayatollah. Maybe it's time to put on those dance.
Is the Ayatollah gay? Why are they calling him the gay Ayatollah? What if we lose a war to the gay Ayatollah, though? I might make shirts. I don't know if anything for Pride Month. For Pride Month, the United States loses a war to the gay Ayatollah. Yeah. I don't feel good about it, but I'd probably wear the shirt. I would probably. That'd be amazing. Oh man. Britta says, love your show, your sass, and Jen's dating adventures. So here's a few bucks to keep this rolling. Thank you, Britta. I appreciate that. And just a reminder, everybody, we are crowdfunded. We've got about an hour left in the show. If you want to help us knock out the remaining balance of that gift goal, that would be greatly appreciated. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal take the least amount from us. TikTok gifts and super chats are also great ways to support us. They just take a little bit more as a percentage. So if you have the choice, we'd prefer the other ones. But if you don't, TikTok gifts and super chats are great. I will say this to TikTok. I appreciate you guys being here. I don't know what the audience is because it doesn't show me here, but we get heavily suppressed. There's two ways to not be suppressed on TikTok. One, you stop talking shit about Israel, and I'm not going to do that. So the only other way is gifting, because that's the only way that affects their bottom line. They don't have ad revenue, so you being here without gifting doesn't really force them to push the show. So if you have the means and you want this show to have a bigger audience on TikTok and perhaps protect our episodes more, help us out over there on TikTok as well.
Choose and go out and serenade and call the president and get it done. Because if the president walks away from this, it's not going to be like Afghanistan.
Right.
Israel's coming, and hell's coming with them.
Yeah, it would be a very different end.
What does he mean? It's not going to be like? Is he saying that they're just going to wipe out Iran? Like, what would be different? Eventually, we just pulled out of Afghanistan, right? I don't know what he's saying. Is that a nuclear threat?
Yeah.
And so when the president did an interview on television in Israel, maybe an hour or two ago, and it was pretty rough on the prime minister there, who's up for election in October, so it's very unhelpful to him. And they'll be sorry about any of these other candidates who are elected. I can trust you on that one. Trust me on that.
They still think that they have control over these elections. The best thing you can be in these elections, if you're on the left, is anti-Israel. Alex said, have you talked about Israel using white phosphorus? We've talked about that before. If they're using white phosphorus again, that's honestly news to me, and I haven't seen that. If you have a link to that, Alec, and they're using it again right now, will you send that to me? I would love to see that. It was at the early start of the war. I think it was in Lebanon, right? They were using it in Lebanon earlier. Okay, so they're still doing it in Lebanon. Yeah, when we covered it before, I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Dre Dossier or somebody else, but they actually covered the smoke. So we did cover that once, and they're doing it again. Awesome. They're so cool. Israel's totally not genocidal maniacs.
And he said, if Israel,
Oh, and Alter Ego, thanks for the gifted subs. Appreciate that.
Basically, if they don't do what I tell them to do, they're going to be left alone fighting Iran. They will whip Iran's ass. And they want to destroy that regime. And they will finally give arms to the people in Iran. They won't give a damn what Turkey and Erdogan has to say about it.
Bro, this is fantasy world. You're going to take over Iran and then give the people weapons? This is crazy. This is never going to fucking happen. This isn't even the fucking plan. This is not Israel's plan. Is not to give the people of Iran weapons and let them take over. That's not the plan. What the fuck is he talking about?
The lifeline will be whatever deal we come up with, because that deal, after the president leaves, will not be enforceable. It just won't. It just won't. So Axios and this guy, Barak Ravid is an Israeli.
Hey, Arctic Adjuster, we don't do fence sitting both sides shit here. What you're saying is irrelevant to any conversation, and you should just go somewhere else before people make fun of you. Nobody cares.
The left and the right are the same. They're exactly the same.
Yeah, that's why they don't vote the same.
It's your fault if you vote for them.
No, that's stupid. You got to go. No more fence sitting for me. You can engage in this conversation, or we got to get rid of you. We don't do fence sitters here. I'm not on either side. Yeah, we know. That's the point. We're not asking you to be on a side, but just nobody fucking cares that you're like, it's both sides. We know that.
Who worked for two of the worst publications in Israel, couldn't hold his jobs there, goes to Axios, and this is the guy that receives the leaks, I guess, from the Oval Office or people around the president, and who the president talks to all the time to put that information out. And you'll notice that Netanyahu hasn't gone to the press about any of the conversations. Moreover,
all right, now he's going to defend. Anyways, so now we got the infighting. Now we've got the Zionists pissed at Donald Trump, and I'm happy with that. But I wanted to show, I didn't know this guy's name was Hal Lambert. Nobody has ever been more appropriately named ever. And I try not to use clips from the show very often, but we have to use it. He had a really, historically bad night last night. He's the Point Bridge Capital founder and CEO. He's just a rich dude who has never been told no in his life and has never had to make compelling arguments because he's rich. And so people listen to him just because he's rich. And he went on CNN, and everybody at CNN's like, fuck this guy. Fuck Republicans from now. We're going to make them answer questions. It was such a bad night. So we're going to cover this with, this is him talking about Iran and justifying the war in Iran. And then we're going to go to the election, the fake election fraud stuff. And this guy's just going to get, you might wind up feeling bad for him. That's how poorly this went. I know how many of you hate Republicans and MAGA. There's a chance at the end of this year, I'm like, man, I don't like him, but that was tough. It's tough to watch. Asa Sophia, you are way too generous. W in the chat for Asa Sophia wiped out the remaining balance of that gift goal. That doesn't mean you have to stop gifting. You can still join us, but thank you, Asa Sophia. God damn, I hope you still have money left at the end of your vacation. But once again, Asa Sophia from Iceland, proving that you can live in a country that gives you health care, tons of paid time off, and you can still have income that you can spend on whatever the fuck you want to spend it on. Because it's all about how much your bills are, and it doesn't matter if that comes through taxes or by forms of paying your own bills. And look at our friends from Iceland with money left over. So thank you, Asa Sophia, and enjoy the rest of your vacation. All right, here's Hal Lambert.
He wants to end this the way he wants to end it and not the way Netanyahu wants to end it.
But he did say no new wars. Over and over.
But he didn't start this one. People say he started it. Look, Iran's been at war with us for a long time, and he did take out Salman.
Okay, he started the fucking war. Even Republicans don't believe this shit. He didn't start this. It's been going for 47 years. No, it hasn't. It just hasn't. We have not been bombing Iran for 47 years. We've been fighting their proxies in the Middle East in places that we invaded for years. This is a new war. We started it. We bombed them. It is crazy that Republicans with straight faces say this all the time. He didn't start this one. We have to say that because he kept saying no new wars, and we can't admit that this dipshit president was wrong. Of course he started this fucking war. Of course he did. They bombed Iran. And then now the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and now we're doing a blockade. We're saying that we did it. If it wasn't new, then why weren't we bombing them before? Crazy.
Iran's been at war with us. How many U.S. citizens has Iran killed on U.S. soil in their 47 years?
How many soldiers have they killed?
And why were our soldiers in the Middle East to begin with?
Okay.
How many Americans have they killed on U.S. soil?
So that's allowed? They're allowed to kill soldiers in the Middle East?
No. How many, for the people who chant death to America for 47 years, how many U.S. citizens have they killed on U.S. soil?
Okay. This is the right question. Republicans don't have an answer. Republicans in the chat will not have an answer to this. An imminent threat means they're threats to Americans. An imminent threat is somebody who is in my home or in my space. I can't go into somebody else's space and then call them an imminent threat because they're like, get out of my space. You can't do that. In order for the United States to take these military actions, according to our Constitution, there needs to be an imminent threat, which we still don't have. The legal opinion has not been released. They won't tell us what the legal decision was, or excuse me, the legal justification of this war was, because there's no imminent threat. Now, I don't know, Republicans, I hope you're embarrassed by this. I hope that you're embarrassed by him, and then I hope when you're done seeing this, you're like, yeah, but that's just Hal Lambert, the trust fund guy. That's just Hal Lambert. What the fuck does he know? Like, he's just a Republican operative on CNN. The other Republicans have better answers, and they're not going to. You guys don't have an answer for this. You don't have an answer for no new wars immediately in a war. You started this war, you own it, and you don't get to backpedal and be like, oh, 47 years.
Have they killed on U.S. soil?
Okay.
How many on U.S. soil, Hal?
So that's all
it's
that
an easy
counts?
answer. You
They
should
can
know it.
kill
Or is it like
Americans all
Ted
over the
Cruz, where you don't
world?
know the population of Iran?
Wow.
How many U.S.
Wow.
citizens have they
Okay.
killed on U.S. soil?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I would guess it's low.
0.
But I don't think that's the telltale test. I don't think you
I think it's low. Yeah, it's 0.
have to kill us on our soil. If you're killing us overseas, you're killing.
Why are we
you're killing
overseas
US
to begin
citizens.
with?
Are we really
Why
going
are
to go
our
into
soldiers in
global
the Middle East to
politics on
begin
why
with?
we're overseas? I don't.
Yes. Let's go into global politics of why we're overseas. MAGA in the chat. Why are we overseas? Pick any proxy you want. Pick the Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthi, whatever proxy you want to blame or say that Iran funds and they attacked us. Pick any of those attacks and tell me why we were in that position, why we were in a position to be attacked. Not saying that our soldiers deserve to die, but why were we there? Just pick one. We have interests globally. Yeah, that's what they tell you when you don't need a fucking answer. That's what Republicans need. You just need a talking point. We have interests there. What are our interests? Pick a specific place and a specific interest, and then an attack by Iran on our people where we had a specific interest. This guy has about 5 Bidens waiting in the chamber. Oh, we got a lot. Why do we have 800 military bases outside the U.S.? Great question. Great question. Right, we don't need to be there. That's the answer, okay? Instead of waiting for an answer, there you go, ESP. Almost all Gulf states. I said specific. You don't know. Just say you don't know, dude. Don't hold on to this talking point. We have interests. Yeah, our interests are money and oil. I don't think we should kill for money and oil. I know that's crazy. I know that's crazy. I know saying we shouldn't just murder people indiscriminately so we can take their resources isn't like popular with MAGA, but that's just my opinion. Jen said, appreciate all RTP fam. Appreciate that.
I think
we were talking about our. It just felt silly.
We're overseas because
why were they in the Middle East to begin with? And point to
because
one
of oil.
Middle
Let's
Eastern
just
Thanks,
country
Larry.
we've
because
made
of
better by our
oil.
involvement
Because
over
of
there.
oil. We know why we're there. It's because of oil.
It just fell apart. Oil. It's oil. We're there for oil. Okay, so then maybe since we're there to steal their oil, it's probably warranted that they're attacking us, right? Because we're stealing their shit. Like if somebody comes in your house and steals your shit, can you attack them? You just, whoops. Keep asking MAGA questions, especially right now. This isn't a case of MAGA's too stupid. This is a case of there's no answers. It doesn't matter how smart you are. There are absolutely no answers to virtually anything Donald Trump is doing that's not like a bumper sticker. You just said it. That's the guy Republicans are paying to go on TV and defend him. Well, it's oil. Yeah, okay. Well, then it kind of seems like they're justified. I think that if you're coming into their country to steal their resources, they can shoot you. I think that's fair.
What do you mean because of oil?
We need to protect our interests in oil, period.
Then maybe we should open the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before this war started. And we could
Or maybe, hear me out, peace, diplomacy, renewable energy, nationalizing our own oil, being energy independent, maybe all these other things that aren't make money for the oil companies.
open right now if we just left, which is in our interest.
So you're okay.
I
You're
think
for
Israel
Iran having
has
a nuclear
shown
weapon.
a
Got it.
remarkable.
You're
hold on.
okay. Let's go back here.
Interest.
So you're okay.
I
You're
think
for
Israel
Iran having
has
a nuclear
shown
weapon.
a
Got it.
remarkable. Oh, Iran doesn't need a nuclear weapon now because they have.
ESP, what the fuck do you think Trump's negotiating? This is why your argument's stupid. Trump is trying to negotiate peace with Iran right now. What's your like? Just nuke them? What? God, we got the fucking Zionists here. Yeah, right. Peace with Iran? Yeah, if Israel stops fucking with them and if we stop attacking all their proxies, yeah, we could do that. Maybe we get the fuck out of the Middle East. Yeah, we could have peace with Iran. Because even all this shit we've done to Iran, they've still never attacked us on U.S. soil, ever. Not once. We could just leave and we would have peace with Iran. Now, Iran and Israel probably not going to have peace. But that's their fight.
Learned that they don't need one. They've now learned through this war. By the way, Iran, a nuclear weapon, let me just dismantle that talking point really quick. The 18 U.S. intelligence agencies in our country. Back to those.
Okay. He doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Spoiler. He doesn't know what she's saying is that the 18 U.S. intelligence agencies currently said there was no imminent threat. He doesn't know this. So when you hear his answer, understand that he doesn't know what she's talking about, and he's just going to broadly demonize the intelligence agencies who are also responsible for everything he's claiming, that there was an imminent threat and that Iran was nuclear capable and that they were getting a nuclear weapon. So his argument just barely was, oh, you wanted them to get a nuclear weapon based on intelligence. And then she's going to come in here and be like, there's no evidence that they had a nuclear weapon. There's also no evidence that there was an imminent threat. And he's like, oh, those guys? This is how bad it's getting if you are a Republican on television.
Well, that's
what is that supposed to mean?
Because they told us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
A lie.
Well, they were the 18 intelligence agencies you're about to quote. Go ahead.
No. That is, okay. It wasn't the intel.
I think he might have been thinking of the 51 intelligence agents who warned about the Russian laptop. He has no clue. Like, it's clear, right? This guy doesn't know. He has no fucking clue what she's talking about, right?
It was the politicians. No, let me be clear.
What were you going to say about
it wasn't the intel agencies.
How do I know her facts? It's a good question. How do you know her facts are legit, idiot? Because the 18 intelligence agencies said that there was no imminent threat and there was no nuclear weapon. And what she is stating as a fact is that the 18 intelligence agencies said there was no imminent threat and no nuclear weapon. So factually, she is correct. She's reporting what they said. Now, we don't know if they're lying. I don't know why Trump's own administration would be lying about this, but she's correctly saying that our intelligence tells us that there was no imminent threat, there was no nuclear weapon. So she's being accurate. That's how I know, because I saw the intelligence reports. Do I believe our government? No, almost never. So they could be lying, but she's not. She's just reporting what they said.
That lied about that. It was the politicians like your old friend Ted Cruz that believed those lies and got us into those wars, and it was President Trump who campaigned on being different, and that's a separate thing.
We don't want another North Korea having a nuclear weapon. Why is that so difficult to understand? Can we point out that also North Korea has never done anything to us? I want to point that out too. North Korea is surrounded by countries that have nuclear weapons. They're just allowed to have nukes. Israel has nukes. Why does Israel have nukes? We're not technically allowed to partner with Israel in any military action because they have nuclear weapons. And we just pretend that they don't. That's a real thing. We just fucking pretend. We know that they have them. And that's why you won't ever hear any Americans in Congress that are like Zionists say Israel has nuclear weapons. We don't even say, we just lie. Take Israel's nukes. Israel's the fucking problem. They're the instigator, and they have the nukes. That's a crazy thing to say, but what if Iran gets them? I guess they should, probably. Knowing how look at what Israel's done in the last year. Like, how much easier would their life be if they could just wipe people out with nukes? I'm not worried. I'm not even slightly worried about Iran, honestly. Like, on the list of countries that are problematic to the United States, I don't see Iran in the top 10. Especially because all of our wounds are self-inflicted. We could just get the fuck out.
To get into, but the 18 U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon, and that has not changed during the course of this war. However, what has changed...
Amber, where's your intelligence? Our intelligence says that they don't have a nuclear weapon and that they weren't really even close to obtaining one. You are just saying things that you've heard Republicans say. Would you like to cite a source that could point me in a direction, Amber? Could you tell me where I could confirm that they had a nuclear weapon or that they were close? I'll look it up. I'll pull up the source right here. Just in your next comment, just give us your source. Facts are crazy like that. Cool. I love that. Amber, I love that you are fact-based. I love that for you. And I love that for me because I also love learning new things. And it appears that you're teaching me and the chat new things. And I love that. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to you telling me what to search here so that we can find that source. And I'm really happy that this is happening, because all along I've been saying we didn't have evidence. So I'm glad that there's some. GTI. GTI? What do you mean GTI? Who's GTI? Let me know what Amber's talking about. The Global Threat Initiative? Are you talking about the one Tulsi Gabbard put out? It didn't say that. It specifically didn't say that. No, I think she's talking about the I assume she's talking about Global Terrorism Index. Explicitly notes that Iran had not enriched uranium to weapons grade levels sufficient for a nuclear bomb prior to the U.S. Israeli military strikes. I'll scroll up, Amber. What'd you say there? What, nukes? Yeah. Oh, you want me to look at the top 10? Well, I don't care, because those terrorists aren't attacking us, right? I also think that we're terrorists. I think that it's unfair that these other countries, when they do things, that it's terrorism, but when we do the exact same thing, it's diplomacy. I don't know what we call it. Pakistan, number 1. Burkina Faso, number 2. Niger, number 3. Nigeria, number 4. Mali, number 5. Syria, number 6. Somalia, number 7. DRC, number 8. Colombia, number 9. Israel, number 10. Oh, no. No. Oh, this is impacted by terrorism. Okay. I was like, oh, no. Is that what you wanted me to look at? I'm not saying they have nukes. I'm saying we will not know either way, but at least we can all disagree about. Yeah. We don't know if they have nukes, but we can just bomb them and murder them. Yeah, that's kind of like American diplomacy at work. Sorry, let me go back.
And that's a separate thing I'm going to get into. But the 18 U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon, and that has not changed during the course of this war. However, what has changed is that
There's the GTI you were talking about, that they weren't building one.
Iran has now learned they don't need a nuclear weapon, because they can behave like a nuclear power without ever needing to be one, because they can just close the Strait of Hormuz if and when they ever want. And they have learned what China has learned, which is that you're never going to beat the U.S. military militarily. You beat us economically. Let's just dismantle that.
Last quick point on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Amber, that, I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't care if they're the top 10. The question was, were they an imminent threat? No. Define terrorism. How does GTI, how did they even define it? It measures and ranks overall impact of terrorism. I don't even see that they have like a top 10. I'm not sure what you're talking about. The FTO list, is that what you're talking about? I don't know. All right. It's derailed. All right. Bad night for Hal, though. It doesn't get a whole lot better. Now, again, just to remind you, the reason I'm showing you, and I'm going to show you a ton of clips, is because everything Republicans are talking about, they have literally no proof of, and their answer for everything is, come on, guys, think about it. Come on, guys, think about it. Here's Mike Johnson now talking about the claims of election interference in California. And let's see if Mike Johnson has some evidence.
So does the tip of the iceberg.
Speaking of fraud,
This is only coming out of my left headphone, sorry, and it's a little quiet.
the president keeps saying that there's election fraud in the California mayor's race. What evidence is there to prove that?
You tell me, Manu. They are counting votes weeks after the election. We have
It's not weeks after the election.
Entire nations with huge populations, like India, that can count their votes in 24 to 48
You're
hours.
saying it's rigged like the president?
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Let's.
What stinks about it? I have no evidence. It's taken 4 days so far. That stinks to high heaven. Why? Can somebody explain to me in the chat? Maybe you guys know what stinks about this. What's the thing that I should be watching that California is doing that stinks? That it takes time? Well, if something takes a long time, in order for me to judge whether or not it stinks, I'm going to figure out like why it takes time, right? Why is it taking so much time? Because there's a lot of ballots. Why are there a lot of ballots? A lot of people in that state. Why are there a lot of people in that state? It's a big fucking state. Why does it take so long? They have a lot of mail-in ballots. Why do mail-in ballots take so long? Well, because they take a while in the mail sometimes. And you have to have it, if it's postmarked, I think on the day of the election, those can come in late too. So those could be 3, 4, 5 days late. So you got to count every ballot, right? That's perfectly reasonable to me. The perfectly reasonable explanation. Now, if I saw some evidence of votes being switched or manipulated, we could talk about that. But every single Republican I show you for the rest of the day is going to have no evidence that there is any sort of tampering at all, other than it takes a long time.
Let's remove the appearance of impropriety. Let's have what a concept. Let's have votes on an election the day of the election.
Why? Why does that make an election more secure? Do we have one there? Can anybody give me an explanation for why having the election results on the first day makes it more secure? Why would that make it more secure? To me, in a complicated process like this, if you're saying that everything needs to be certified on day one, then I think you're setting yourself up for elections that are going to be far less secure. Tons of moving parts in one day. You're going to call the election for a person. You're never going to want to reverse that election. That's what happened with Bush v. Gore. People forget, but like Bush v. Gore ended because basically the Supreme Court ruled, hey, yeah, a bunch of votes, like 3 million votes aren't going to count, but this is taking too long, so just fucking certify it. That's what happened in Florida. They just said, it's taking too long, so certify it. And I think it was like 3.5 million votes just washed away. Why is speed being linked to accuracy? It's not. Speed is linked to Republican leads. Speed is like the early results are where Republicans do well, and they know that. That's why they don't have any evidence for any of this shit. They just want to be able to manipulate elections, and they want people who vote different, who don't want to go in. For fuck's sakes, the last thing on earth, I can't think of something I would rather do less than stand in a fucking line to vote. If I have to, I have to. But I don't have to. There's no reason for me to have to do that. I live in Arizona. We're doing great. I can just drop my ballot off. I can mail it if I want to. Why in the world do we need a shittier system? The answer is because Republicans do well when people are forced to go to the polls. They want less people to vote. That's the real answer. That's why they don't have any evidence here.
That's what many states are able to do. I think California.
There is a ton of evidence. Thank you, David. Great. David, you and I are friends. David, give me a specific piece of evidence. Because your elected representatives aren't giving me any. So, David, one by one, and I'll go through them. Your next comment should be a specific piece of evidence that I can Google.
California is playing around with us.
But what evidence is there to prove that there was rigged?
Look, some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream that it's impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here. And
Instincts. It's impossible to prove. We have no way of proving it, but our feelings tell us that it's rigged. So we've got to change the laws for our feelings. Not purging voter rolls. David, how does that prove that the election is being interfered? So what you would have to do then, David, to prove that somebody was cheating, you would have to take those vote rolls that weren't purged, and you would have to match voters, people who actually voted, who were ineligible to vote. And you haven't done that, right? So that's not evidence that anything was rigged. Purging voter rolls doesn't, there's very little evidence that purging voter rolls does anything to stop cheating in elections. Most people don't know they're on the voter roll still. Usually these people have died or they've moved to another state. So they're not getting a ballot in the mail anyways. Or they're dead. It's hard to vote when you're dead. There's a handful of people who vote dead every election. See how that's not evidence, David? See how you have to go one more step to prove that there's a problem there? Everything is just like, oh, this looks bad. You're saying what Mike Johnson's saying. Oh, it doesn't, there's this problem here. Is it a problem? Why is purging voter rolls necessary? That is exactly what we have been trying to do. They keep blocking the process. Yeah. Okay, but that doesn't prove that that there's anything going on here. That doesn't mean that there's any sort of illegal action here, or again that there's proof that they're cheating in this election. It's just proof that you can't get what you want. And by the way, this has gone to court like 5 times, and the Trump administration has lost in the court like 5. It might be more than that now. They keep losing because they're not allowed to do it. That's why.
That's a concern. We need people to believe in the integrity of our election system. It is critical to maintain a constitutional republic. We're going to keep working to pass the Save America Act because it requires, as you know, proof of citizenship and a photo ID to vote. Those are also 90% plus issues in public opinion, and 70% of Democrats understand that's necessary.
And none of these are reasons that you can claim that the election was stolen either. So see how there's no evidence?
Necessary.
Aren't you all just saying that because you've lost the election because the Republicans did not win in this election? This is why you're hearing that?
I'm saying that every leader of all parties should demand election integrity. And if somebody is opposing that, you should look at their motives. That's what I'm saying.
We'll see later.
Why won't California allow their voter rolls to be audited? They do allow their voter rolls to be audited all the time. Next. See, I don't think you guys know stuff. They just tell you stuff. All right, so moving on. Speaker Johnson, Speaker of the House. I mean, he's a nobody, right? He wouldn't know. Let's get back to Hal Lambert. Maybe Hal Lambert has some specific examples. He's going to pick some specific states, unlike Mike Johnson. Let's see what he comes up with here.
With his loss in 2020, which he has now tasked the government with trying to validate, even though there's no proof of it. Why is it that when he is challenged on that, he can't answer for it?
Well, look, we know there were, after the fact, we know there were problems in Arizona. We know there were problems in Georgia.
Okay. What are the problems? Chat, they're going to ask him that question too. I'll look for your answers here. What are the problems? Chat's going to say, the 300,000 ballots in Georgia. They don't realize that those 300,000 ballots have been vetted, that an audit has actually been performed on those. There was an irregularity. There was an audit done. And those ballots were found to be legal. There was no chain of custody, so they had to go back and audit and make sure that they were correct. So that's been taken care of. Take care of that one. If you have any other examples from Georgia or Arizona, please let me know. Let's also not forget that 3 different people that worked for the Trump campaign pled guilty to election interference in Georgia. There are 3 people who pled guilty to that from Trump's legal team. And there was more that pled guilty outside of the legal team, but just his legal team. 3 of them pled guilty. So that's a crime. That's an election interference crime.
We know after investigation,
What were they?
you can't prove that in 45 days.
What were they,
okay?
Hal? It's been 6 years.
What were they?
What were the problems?
There were problems with the
Arctic Adjuster, what do you want to debate? I'll debate anybody, but I'm not going to debate that. Like, are you still on this point? Like, oh, both parties are the same. We're watching these 2 people are from different parties and they're arguing. They're clearly not the same. It's a dumb argument that nobody wants to have. So if you want to debate about something specific, happy to do it. But if it's just going to be about both parties are bad, nobody fucking cares.
Voters in Georgia, they found voters that were voters that
there was no problem.
How many fraudulent votes were cast in Georgia? Because I live in Georgia. I want to hear you live.
And I lived in Arizona.
That's a lot. Okay, first of all,
I lived in
we can't
Arizona.
have this conversation.
But on video, they were showing that it could be done. Cool. Is there evidence that it happened? Now this is what I love. Let's give him a chance to give us one specific example in Georgia.
This man just said that there were thousands of
the more you guys yell there's no fraud, the more likely there was fraud.
No, the more that you lied, the more we're going to push back on the fact that you were lying.
81 million people voted for Joe Biden. That's the evidence that he's presenting so far. So his evidence is Trump lost.
She keeps the largest database on voter fraud.
This is so ridiculous. I want to walk off this stage.
I'm sorry, I got to finish this point. They keep 30 years. They've tracked 32 elections, 100 million votes they have found 39 total cases
so
of
absurd.
voter
It's
fraud.
so
Oh, well,
absurd. That's absurd.
The Heritage Foundation is absurd.
Okay, so he cited a source, Heritage Foundation, right-leaning, the authors of Project 2025. He cites a source. It's absurd, is what Hal says here. So obviously Hal has some counter information.
Where's your proof?
Where's your
I just cited my source. What is your source?
I got a question for
I just cited, no, because I don't want
Wait,
to.
hold on,
I want to know what your source is.
You said
What
it's
is your
absurd.
source?
Why is it
Mine is the
absurd?
Heritage Foundation.
Do you think there's no H-1B visa?
Where's
fraud?
your source?
Do you think there's
That's not a source. Oh, man. This is what I don't miss about debating Republicans. He doesn't have an answer, so he wants to ask a different question. He wants to ask a hypothetical. This is the Patrick Bet-David move. This is what Dave Rubin does. This is what Charlie Kirk always did. When you don't have evidence, you go, so what are you saying? That there's absolutely no evidence of voter fraud? And he's just trying to flip this and be like, oh, now you've got to defend a claim. He's being asked to defend his claim. He can't defend it. So he's going to try and make a new claim to force, I don't remember this guy's name. What's his name? Charles Blow. Going to try and force him to defend it instead. Good tactic. Doesn't work.
Well, you don't have any
there's
source.
no home health care fraud? Can you let me finish?
You are not saying a source.
Guys.
You are not saying a source.
There's fraud all over the federal government. There's fraud all over the states.
Where is your
funding.
source?
And yet there's no voter fraud?
Are you kidding me? The idea that you're sitting here trying to convince us based on no source whatsoever.
Is there Medicare fraud?
Is there Medicare fraud? Bro, he's spiraling. No source? Mike Johnson, no source. Hal Lambert, no source. Donald Trump, no source. Donald Trump stormed out of an interview this week because he was asked for a source. There's nothing that infuriates MAGA more than saying, hey, do you have any information to back up these things that you are stating as absolute truth? No.
Trust your word and trust the president's word when we know he is lying. And I want to know if you think that was the real. I don't know if we're sitting here with two election deniers.
Just a second.
Do you think it's rigged as well?
Tell me there's no fraud in anything Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B visa.
Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B. No, nobody's saying that, you dumb bitch. Nobody's saying that. We're asking where your evidence of voter fraud is that you said absolutely exists. And now he's on to Medicare, Medicaid, and HB1 visas. This is pathetic. That's a good point, Becca. Wow, these women on this panel are far too emotional. It's a good point.
You have no source, and you're going to get louder and louder, and it's still not going to work.
Maybe if they had better ideas, they wouldn't suppress the votes. Why haven't we gotten any of the evidence out of Georgia after Tulsi raided and took all the boxes? Where's the evidence? Oh, yeah, weird. Where's that?
California won't allow the federal government to
louder and louder, and it's still not going to work because you don't have a single source in your whole body.
Stop talking. Guys, stop talking. Because y'all are talking so loud. But to be honest, Hal, you're not saying anything of substance
I think I am.
in this conversation.
Okay, I think I am. Jamar says 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. It takes a long time to count millions of votes. David said Los Angeles County has a population of roughly 9.7 million people, which is larger than 40 U.S. states. If the county were its own state, it would be the 11th most populous in the nation, ranking just behind Michigan and ahead of New Jersey. I don't think they understand that. MAGA's like, there's 18 people in my town. We just write it on a whiteboard.
See what the viewers think.
Let's see what the viewers think. Still no source. All right. Well, let's see. Maybe it'll get better for him. Sorry, I might need to grab a lozenge here in a second. All right. This is a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, Bill Esili, who is, I'm trying to remember where he's from. And this is when you know things have gone bad. News Nation sucks. Chris Cuomo also sucks. All the Cuomos suck. And News Nation is the pulse of the middle. You will always find News Nation squarely in the middle on every issue. And they brought on a U.S. attorney, Bill Esili. Where's he at? He out of? Let's see real quick. He is from California. Oh, good. Finally, we got a California attorney. Finally, somebody we should actually pay attention to. And he's going to be pressed here by Cuomo.
You have not conducted an
Sorry, I'm going to grab a throat lozenge real quick.
investigation. You are conducting one. So you don't know. And you are in the business of knowing. And right now, you don't. You are pointing to one case. And you know what? You could point to a dozen. Do you know why? Because those are all the cases you've made in the last decade. A dozen. Individual
Chris,
cases.
I did not say. I did not say
half were
that
found
we
to be
have
lacking.
found wide-scale fraud. There's two different things
That's what
going on
you're
here. You're
suggesting.
saying for sure you know. Hold on a second. You're saying for sure you know there isn't. I'm saying we don't know because
scale.
we haven't been able to look at all the evidence at scale.
Yeah, but
So no evidence. By the way, There's a difference between saying you don't have evidence and you're saying there's no fraud. I don't know anybody that says there's no fraud. Anybody who says that there's no fraud in any election doesn't understand. There's a small level of fraud in every election, and it almost always gets caught, but it's a tiny, tiny percentage. So nobody should say that. There's going to be some amount of fraud in California. There's going to be somebody that was dead that voted, that died before the election. There's going to be somebody who was either illegally in the country or illegally trying to vote that wasn't a resident of the state. There'll be there'll be instances of that. There will be some. But the defense, if you're going to make the claim that the election is stolen, you have to provide some evidence. You can't, we can't just open investigations for the rest of our lives because Republicans are like, it doesn't make sense that we lost. We have to investigate because we lost.
Why is that? Let's talk about the voting system in California.
Mr. Asaley, if you were in a court of law right now, and I don't need your opinion on the system because you're not a voting system expert, you're a prosecutor, that's why I have you here. If we were in a court of law and you said, Judge,
I was in the legislature on the election committee. I know a little bit about California's voting system. Yeah.
But do you know anything about any fraud? Do you have any evidence of fraud, or you were in Congress once and you looked at elections?
You want me to take somebody's experience in a state legislature for how long?
I was there. I was in the legislature for 3 years. I've been involved in election integrity long before that as an attorney. And we could talk about.
I've covered elections for 30 years, Mr. Asaley. 30 years. You know how many cases of widespread fraud I've covered? One, and it was the Trump administration.
All right. Okay, under federal law, we're entitled to audit California's voter rolls. Under multiple civil rights statutes, we're entitled to audit those.
Yes, you are.
The state is resisting.
Yes, you are.
Why is that?
I know.
Why are they resisting?
It's a bad look.
The best way to deal with all this is to have transparency and to give people, like Chris, I don't care what the outcome of the election is. We want people to have confidence in the systems and that the laws are being followed.
I agree.
So yeah, when California lets you register to vote with a gym card.
You can't do that. You have to prove your citizenship. Now we're getting to the lies. You can't register to vote with a gym card in California.
That is not a good system. When you can register to vote with a debit card, that's not a good system. When you don't clean your voter rolls.
I also want to point one other thing out. When Chris Cuomo agreed that the federal government has the right to audit the voter rolls, that's not true. That's being litigated right now. They can seek California voter rolls, but whether or not they can compel California to hand over the full unredacted list is currently in litigation. And there's already been multiple rulings, some of them conflicting. What both, I think, Cuomo and this U.S. attorney are citing is a DOJ legal memo, which is not law. It's just an opinion that says the Civil Rights Division has authority under the Civil Rights Act of 1960. Now, and again, we've had multiple court cases. There's conflicting results in those court cases. This is going to have to go to the Supreme Court. But it was weird that both of them are like, yeah, you do have the right, because they don't.
That is not a good system. When you legalize ballot harvesting, which is illegal in most states with no chain of custody, not a good system. And then you ask us, why don't we have evidence of wide-scale fraud? Because
the last part is inaccurate.
What's inaccurate?
The last part is inaccurate. The other ones are good arguments. They're just political arguments, not legal ones. And again, you are in a legal capacity, not a political one. Okay?
Amber, Florida has always required you to prove your citizenship before you registered to vote. You keep saying ID as a photo ID. I don't think a photo ID is necessarily the best form of ID. It's the most faked form of identification. But in every state, all 50, there are requirements to prove your citizenship when you register to vote. What was true? Yeah, no, that's not true, Amber. You might not have had to show an ID, but you still had to prove you were a citizen. She might be right about that, but you have to prove your citizenship, including in California. You can look this up.
Maybe you're getting them confused because of the legislative hat or being in the Trump administration. But if you were in a court of law right now, Mr. Asaley, and said to a judge, Your Honor,
I'm telling you why we need to audit the rolls.
Excuse me, sir. Hold on a second. I'm not saying you should.
Source, go to California. We can pull this up. I guess we can just pull this up. and go to voter registration. So if we go to register to vote.ca.gov here, we've done this before. One, you certify that you're a U.S. citizen and resident of California, or a U.S. citizen, a member of the uniformed services or a merchant marine on active duty, a U.S. citizen and an eligible spouse or dependent, the U.S. citizen. Anyways, you have to go through this. So let's just say we're going to say I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen and resident of California. Okay, cool. I'm 18 years or older. Cool. Then we're going to put in our date of birth. You'll see here I'll have to put in first and last name. I have to put in my date of birth here, which I don't know if you guys know this. Our government keeps track of all this. Then I've got to go with my place of birth. This is all going to have to obviously match my real information. Then I need verification. So I can give my California driver's license or California ID card number. If I don't have that, I can do the last 4 of my social security number. If I don't have that, it will take me to the next... It'll take me to the next page, which I'm not going to do here, but ID requirements, vote in California. We'll go here because it won't let me go to the next page. But here's what you need. You have to be a U.S. citizen, 18 years or old, not currently serving in a state or federal prison, not currently found mentally incompetent to vote by a court. In most cases, no, California does not generally require voters to show ID at the polls. Why might you be asked for a D? Wait, where's the registration part? I wanted to get to the registration requirements. Oh, right. Here it is. For purpose of this regulation, proof of residency or identity shall consist of presenting an original or copy of any of the documents described below in either paragraph 1 or 2. Current and valid photo ID, provided by a third party in the ordinary course of business that includes the name and photograph of the individual representing it. Examples of photo ID are included but not limited to driver's license, passport, employee ID card provided by a commercial establishment, credit or debit card, military identification, student identification, health club identification, insurance plan identification, public housing ID. Okay, that's your first step. So that's where he says that's all you need. Any of the following documents, provided that the document includes the name and address of the individual presenting it and is dated since the date of the last general election, unless the document is intended to be of a permanent nature: utility bill, bank statement, government check, government paycheck, document issued by a government agency, sample ballot, or other officials' elections document issued by a governmental agency, voter notification card issued by a governmental agency, public housing identification card, yada, yada, yada. That's what you need. So you have to prove that you're a citizen. Did you guys know that? Or did you think that you really didn't have to prove your citizenship?
Audit the rolls. I was nodding along and saying yes, yes, while you were saying we have every right to audit the rolls, and the state saying no is a bad look. That's what I said, a bad look. All right, so I'm with you. But if you were to say to a judge, Your Honor, we don't know that they didn't do it, that is a bullshit standard. Now, it works in politics, not in law. That's what I want to make sure you know how to keep straight.
We have not charged the state of California with wide-scale voter fraud. We're conducting an investigation. We have not brought a case, and I guarantee you, one.
AKA, they don't have any evidence. If they did, they would charge them.
We do bring cases. We will have plenty of evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. That is how we work. That is how.
If we do someday get evidence, then we'll be able to prove it. Oh, okay. Raina said a guy from Arizona tried to vote in California and got arrested. I saw that.
I have not provided any specifics on any case. I've simply told you there is evidence of voter fraud. We are looking into it.
What is it? What's the evidence of voter fraud? He said that they didn't get the voter rolls. What's the evidence?
When we're ready to bring those cases, you'll see the evidence. You'll see the case.
We'll show you later.
Court of law.
Gotcha.
But we want to instill confidence in the elections, which is why we are seeking to audit the voter rolls. And that, to me, is the best way to alleviate most of people's suspicion. We have a system that...
All right, let's try somebody else. Let's try Katie Zacharia on with Brian Tyler Cohen. Let's see, maybe Katie Zacharia has some evidence here.
The president's language on this is irresponsible and creates a distrust in the system and actually hurts Republicans and may stop them from voting.
I absolutely don't. I absolutely agree that this needs to be looked at. Look, I went to go vote.
Looked at by who?
This needs to be looked at and ensured that the system is secure.
You don't think it's, you think it's.
What needs to be looked at? They can't even tell us what needs to be looked at. What? This was, I think, is this the one that I looked up? She was, Katie's Achari. Is she the one that was like a spokesperson? Katie, what's her role before? Oh, she's the general counsel for Fix California, a right-wing group. Okay.
Not irresponsible for the president of the United States, the person with the biggest megaphone in pretty much in the world, to say that there is voter fraud happening in California with no evidence to actually back up what he's saying? You don't think that's irresponsible?
I think there's evidence, and I don't think it's irresponsible.
But what evidence do you have?
I've named some, and I'm sure
you said that voter rolls haven't been cleaned up, but that's not the same as widespread voter fraud.
If you are not regulating who's going to the ballot box, you are going to inherently get unfair demographic. Look, Democrats, by and large, surge. Rahman has come up a ton in these last ballot drops.
Because those are mail-in ballots, and those are disproportionately and over.
See? Their argument is we do really well with people who vote in person and we do really poorly with people who vote by mail. Therefore, voter fraud. That's her evidence. She's an attorney also. She's one of the people that is litigating this. They're going to be laughed out of court, just like they have been every other time.
Overwhelmingly used by Democrat voters because Donald Trump.
A lot of Republicans have started.
The reality is Donald Trump has denigrated mail-in voting, and so that's why Democrats are more likely to use it than Republicans.
He reversed course, and it's a big part of why he won in 2024 is because he said vote early. I mean, he understood that this was an important.
He still raises questions about mail-in ballots all the time.
He just signed an executive order. He just signed an executive order trying to ban mail-in voting.
Do you think it's so nice? It'd be so nice to defend Donald Trump because he's taken every position possible that you can always find a quote that like is in direct opposition to another thing he said, and then you're like, actually, this is what he really meant. Here's Ron Johnson, member of Congress. He's the one that's been all over this. He's been tasked by the Republican Party to get to the bottom of voter fraud. Here he is.
She pressed him, Senator, as you heard, about whether he had evidence. There's never been evidence presented in any of these cases. Do you side with the president when he speaks about this topic, or would you rather that he skip it entirely?
I think in so many cases. I mean, I'm doing my investigations in terms of the corruption during COVID.
Yeah.
And
what corruption during COVID? I'm going to ask the chat the same thing. Chat's going to all say the same thing. Oh, come on. Where was the evidence of voter fraud during COVID? Lots of people voted. Yeah, people vote when it's easier to vote. Crazy.
Some side will say, well, there's no proof. There's no evidence. I mean, there was so much evidence of irregularities in the 2020 election, but all you have to do is say, there's no evidence. There's no proof. There are all kinds of irregularities that occur. I mean, the fact that California, how many days after the election, still can't.
How is they? There's so much proof. They all say the same thing. There's so much proof. It's overwhelming. I mean, just the fact that California takes a long time. They all go to the one thing, the same exact fucking thing that is not proof. Come on, you guys are better than this. Amber, you might not be better than this, but some of you guys be better than this. Have a little bit of pride.
All the resort.
But my point is there's never been anything proven on scale that would affect an election, whether it be at a national level or a big statewide election like this. I understand there's irregularities. There always are. But on scale, that would impact.
I also was mailed a ballot in Florida. Who cares, Amber? If you voted in person, because this happens every election. People will request a mail-in ballot. They forget about it. They go and they vote in person, or they vote early, or they request a new ballot. If you send in 2 votes, like if you have a mail-in ballot and then you vote in person, guess what? Your vote's going to count one time because we have checks in place. It's going to scan your ballot. And if you went and you had a ballot mailed to you and then you voted in person, it's going to track that, and only one of those is going to count. And you may be investigated for attempted voter fraud. And if it's an honest mistake, they're probably going to leave you alone. They're going to talk to you about it, but you'll be investigated. Some people get caught doing this every single year. The reason that they get caught is because the systems in place catch it. It's not because some rogue DOJ agent's like, I'm better investigate this. It's literally the systems that we put in place that catch voter fraud. I don't know of a single instance of voter fraud that wasn't caught by the checks that we put in place to catch voter fraud. So even the things, Amber, if you just had like a tiny bit of knowledge on how elections work, you wouldn't appear so goddamn confused.
Which is evidence. Yeah, I mean, people that do things cover it up. But again, I'm getting very tired of this. There is no evidence.
Guys, there's no evidence because they covered it up. Now he's tired of there's no evidence. He's very tired of people saying there's no evidence, even though he doesn't have any evidence.
Tired of this. There is no evidence. There is no proof. There's tons of evidence. There's tons of irregularities. We need to take them seriously because what is absolutely true is Americans on both sides.
Here we go. Now it's going to be, what's it going to be? Guess what he's about to say. Every single person said the same thing. California takes a long time and what? What's the next thing he says? I want to see if you guys got this. If we've got the pattern down yet. Everybody should get this. We'll wait for a second. It's a 10-second delay. No, say it. Oh, come on. Come on. Do we really not know what he's about to say here? It's two things that they all say. California takes a long time and causes people not to believe in the system. It raises doubt.
Do not have confidence in our elections. That's unsustainable. 2016.
People don't have confidence in our elections. Yeah, probably because you're lying to them every fucking day. I don't care if people don't have confidence in the election and they can't provide evidence of proof, then it's pretty clear that it's on the Republicans. Pretty clear that they're just lying. Whose fault is that we don't trust the elections? Could be the party that for 12 years has been like, every election was rigged. Remember, I worked for Romney's campaign. At the end of Romney's campaign, he had to disavow Donald Trump because Donald Trump was out there saying that the election was stolen. Romney actually won. And Romney's like, I didn't win. I don't know. I disagree with Trump. I know Trump was riding my coattails the entire time, but yeah, I didn't win. Do this every time with no evidence.
Because of the Russian collusion hoax ginned up by the Hillary Clinton campaign, she, of course, was the first election denier. Illegitimate election, 2016.
There's so much evidence.
None of this is evidence, by the way. Still no evidence. Just Hillary Clinton bad, Democrats bad, nobody trusts our election, but I can't give you any evidence.
Senator, why not just present it? There's been multiple chances to do so, courts of law and otherwise.
People do, and it's ignored. All those court cases, most...
Well, take it, Amber, take it up with Florida. If Florida sent you a ballot and you didn't request it, what the fuck are you talking to us about it for? Go talk to them. Talk to your dumbass state. I'm not surprised that with the amount of fucking idiots running your state that somebody fucked up. But did your vote count twice? Is it going to count twice? Do it. Go ahead. Commit election fraud. Run it through the system and see if your vote counts twice. I bet it doesn't.
Most of them never investigated, never reviewed the evidence because it's always moot. The elections are certified. Nobody ever wants to take a look at it. Again, that's just that.
Yeah, your personal. See, that is funny. It's just my personal experience with it, without even an opinion. Yeah, your personal experience is fucking irrelevant to what we're talking about. That there's no evidence of election fraud. Let's get Steve Scalise. I don't know if you guys are tired of this yet, but I feel like we got to beat it into your heads today. How about Steve Scalise? What's the evidence, Steve?
The president keeps saying that the California election was rigged. What evidence have you seen to show that there has been widespread...
Sorry, real quick. I say we pull in Iran, and for every blue state where they claim voter fraud, we accuse a red state of the same, then see where they investigate. Yeah, where is it, Steve? Can you give us the evidence, Steve? You keep saying that there's fraud. Can you give us evidence, please?
Fraud that has caused this election to be stolen.
Well, if you look over the years, what our concerns have been is on this wide scale where they mail ballots to everybody, and then they have vote harvesting in California. And other states do this too, not many, but in states that do, I think where you really have a lot of voter anger, and you're seeing it in Los Angeles right now, even in their mayor's race, where
yes, MAGA voters are dumb. They're easily triggered to anger without evidence. They require no evidence to believe and get angry about shit. They stormed the fucking Capitol for this same exact reason. Yeah, they're dumb and they're led by liars. Yeah, we get it. But again, where's your evidence? You see how he's not pointing to evidence here? People are mad. People are mad in Los Angeles. Therefore, just give us the evidence then.
You had wide changes after
vote harvesting. If you don't know what vote harvesting is, what they're talking about is some states allow different rules. So vote harvesting for me, for example, would be like I could go and I could pick up the ballots of any member of my family, any immediate member of my family. And different states have different rules. Caretakers often can do it. A lot of times in community living centers or like retirement homes, you can, I don't know what California's specific rules are, but basically one person can deliver a whole bunch of ballots, and that's state by state, but that's what they call ballot harvesting.
Election night in the results of an election, and for days and weeks later, that's what
he's calling ballot harvesting, unless he's calling
finding ballots and finding ballots until the election results change. That, look, whether you can prove fraud or not, it does undermine voter integrity in the vote, and
no, it doesn't. It doesn't undermine the integrity of the vote. What undermines the integrity of the vote is fraudulent votes. Not understanding how shit works does not undermine the integrity. It's just you being dumb.
And whether they keep going through with that process, most states have their elections resolved on election night. You look at I think it's raised a lot of skepticism among
any evidence? No, just a lot of skepticism. Cool.
Voters when they see these wide changes days and weeks after the election, and you still can't get a result 2-3 weeks after an election happened.
By the way, this doesn't have to be certified for a while. Like this, it's not like this is new. Everybody knew that this was going to take a week or more. Everybody knew this going in. Every candidate knew this going in. This is not surprising to anybody involved. They all like. Spencer Pratt's campaign is sitting in that building in LA watching the votes being counted. They are literally watching every move if they want to. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they could sit in that room and they could watch every vote being counted if they want to. It is incredibly transparent. And they knew it going in. This is all bullshit.
Why not have all of your elections take place on election day and have the results that night? Florida,
I'm absolutely wet-brained. That's because your mom keeps sitting on my face.
Used to have problems years ago, and they fixed their problems. And now you get the results by usually 9:30 at night in a large state like Florida. It obviously can be done if you choose to do it. And if you don't, it just undermines a lot of people's faith in those elections.
Yeah, dumb people are easily duped. We get it. Yeah. Taking notes says, when you accept they believe there is fraud, they think their little game is working. That's the mistake we are making. Investigate some for conspiracy. No, I don't. I think they all know that there's no fraud here. That's a good point, though, taking notes. They know that there's no fraud. They want voter suppression. They can't say voter suppression because that's anti-American. So they hide behind voter fraud to suppress the vote. They need less people to vote. They need less mail-in votes. That's their only shot at winning. If you look at any major election, Republicans do well when turnout is low. Democrats do well when turnout is high. Democrats want high turnout. Republicans want low turnout. You have to be an absolute fucking dipshit to not know that. You have to have your head so far up your own ass that you can't see anything at all to not know that. This game is so fucking obvious and dumb that it is embarrassing if you don't see that. Now, I happen to agree with the Democrats. I think that it should be far easier to vote, especially given the fact that nobody can point to any reason why it shouldn't be far easier to vote with any evidence at all. It's just fear-mongering. Republicans, for some reason, think it should be more difficult for people to vote without having any evidence that it will fix any problems whatsoever. So one of these parties is pro-freedom, pro-democracy. One of these parties isn't. It sucks because I fuck the Democrats. But Jesus Christ, this is an easy one. Everybody should be allowed to vote. It should be easy to vote. You should be able to either take work off or it should be a holiday. Good Lord, my phone can scan my face and verify my identity. Why can't I vote with my phone? Who do you think would oppose that? Republicans would be, oh, that'll be easy. You could get kidnapped and somebody could use facial recognition software and get you to vote. Yeah, you could get kidnapped and they could vote and they could force you to sign your signature too. Like, there's always going to be some way that somebody could come up with to cheat in an election. Put it on my fucking phone. Give a government app. Let us vote on our phones quickly. No problem. No, we can't do that. Who opposes that kind of shit? Republicans. Why? They need voter turnout low. Republican ideas are deeply unpopular. Even when they win, their ideas are generally unpopular. Jesse said, I live in California and I authorized my wife to drop off my ballot with hers. I had to print her name and she had to physically sign my ballot envelope. Yeah. I don't remember what I had to do when I dropped off family members' ballots. I don't remember top of my head. All right. So 0 for 7. We'll definitely find a Republican here that has some evidence. Let's try. Now we're getting into the good ones. John Toon. This is a different topic, but I wanted to show this one too. John Toon went on to CNBC. Former Senator Mark Wayne, Lee McMullins, McOsbin, McStuffins, McUFC is now threatening to shut down major airports to make sure that people are being screened heavily that come in and out of sanctuary cities. Again, Republicans know all this shit too. A sanctuary city just means that if you that the local law enforcement is not going to do the job of federal law enforcement. That's all it means. And so now they're threatening to ruin their airports if they don't use their own resources to help federal officials, which is crazy. There's supposed to be this separation between the state government and the federal government, but not if you're Republicans that want to get rid of immigrants. Once it's immigrants involved, like, fuck the Constitution. Throw that out the window. So here's John Toon now threatening, agreeing and defending Mullen's plan to shut down international flights into sanctuary cities. Shut down airports into sanctuary cities from international flights, crippling these economies. Where's the evidence that this is a problem? Where's the evidence that this would make a bit of difference? This is just Republicans threatening and hurting economies to get their way.
Some senators that are actually talking about Mark Wayne Mullen's plan, which seems drastic, and Democrats' hair is on fire about the possibility of not allowing DHS and CBP employees in sanctuary city international airports. I mean, we're talking about some major cities. Senator, Boston, Chicago, Denver,
If we win, state governments need to open up investigations into these clowns for conspiracy against their democracies. This isn't free speech. Yeah, agreed.
LA, Philadelphia. There's some support. I don't know.
I don't know. I always say Toon, and I know it's Thune, but I've always said it Toon, and I can't change it in my head. Thank you.
You've weighed in on whether that would be something that you think is necessary at this point.
I've heard it suggested, Joe. Obviously, I think there is a high level of frustration at.
There's the word again, frustration. Yeah, we have to do these things because we're frustrated. We got big feelings. We got to shut down the international flights to these big airports because we're frustrated that they won't do our jobs for us. They don't want us to tell them what to do. So we're frustrated. We're going to shut down the airports. That's the justification. No evidence for any of this. We're like these stolen election claims, the voter roll purges, all this shit is just, we're frustrated. We got the biggest feelings about all of these things, and so we need to get the voter rolls. We need to shut down the airports. How are you guys? How's anybody still support this shit? That's crazy. It's so bad when the Democrats look like the adults in the room. They're not great. They're just really not great at all, and they look incredible just because Republicans exist.
The sanctuary city policies and what they are doing to a lot of our major cities in this country. And I think the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mullen, obviously are coming up with ideas that they think would help at least incentivize a lot of these cities to start behaving in a way that doesn't give sanctuary to criminal, illegal aliens in this country. That's one idea that's out there, or a number of them that are out there. But frankly, I think...
And by sanctuary, of course, it means they're not going to do the federal government's job. It's not that you get to come here and be above the law. The federal government can absolutely come. ICE, DHS, they can absolutely come in and do their job in sanctuary cities. What they can't do is use the city's resources without the city agreeing to it. That's all a sanctuary city is. But it's all propaganda. So we want to cripple local economies because to try and force these big cities to use their own money to do the federal government's job. Got it. Cool.
The sanctuary city policy coupled with defund the police, coupled with open borders, these are just Democrat policies right now that are anti-law enforcement and frankly are
anti-federal law enforcement for sure. Not anti-law enforcement. I'd say that's pro-law enforcement because local governments and local law enforcement are being paid to do a specific job and not somebody else's job. So I'd agree that's anti-federal.
Dangerous with respect to a lot of America's biggest cities and ensuring that those communities and those streets are safe and secure for people who live there. So, you know, we've got to do something about sanctuary cities. Now, whether that's an approach that makes sense.
You could just tell the truth about what they are and then shut the fuck up about it forever. That's what you need to do about sanctuary cities. First, start by telling the people the truth about what a sanctuary city is. And then second, if you need more resources, allocate more resources to the federal government to do what they need to do and stop asking states to bail your ass out.
I haven't given a lot of consideration to that yet. I think there are a lot of issues that have to be addressed. But I do think there are, it's one among many ideas that are designed to at least disincentivize a lot of these big cities in this country to continue these policies that are...
It just disincentivize is a weird way to say threaten and cripple their economies. We need to hurt the people in blue cities so that they will do what we want them to do, which is unconstitutional. Cool.
That are giving...
Amber, I know you're a states' rights person. This obviously must piss you off that the federal government is strong-arming local governments.
Safety and home to a lot of criminal illegal aliens.
All right, a last one, and then we'll get out of here. This one just made me laugh. This is Senator Marshall out in California, or excuse me, in Texas, where we now have confirmed cases of the flesh-eating screwworm, which has made its way up. I believe I think they've originated maybe in Venezuela. I can't remember. They might discuss it here. And so naturally, since it's in Texas and it's happening during the Trump administration, a year and a half in, and the Trump administration got rid of the team who was monitoring the screwworm and was there to protect us and make sure that we're monitoring the borders and imports to make sure this doesn't get into the United States. Donald Trump got rid of that team, but naturally this is Joe Biden's fault, and that's what Senator Marshall's going to tell you.
I want to switch over because I know you're on the Senate Agriculture Committee and beef prices are at an all-time high. There's new concern about the beef supply now with the discovery of that flesh-eating screwworm among cattle there in Texas. But what's being done to try to contain this new threat and really overall to keep these prices down?
Yeah, Charlotte, well, we got this. We've been through this before. We eradicated the screwworm in 1966, and we'll talk about this. But this is another thing we can thank Joe Biden for, that when millions of people came out of Central America, they brought this.
Just never. They never own anything. Never. But let me go back here and just hear the story.
66, and we'll talk about this. But this is another thing we can thank Joe Biden for, that when millions of people came out of Central America, they brought this screwworm with them. It was on their pets, maybe on their flesh as well.
Yeah, but it got here during the Trump administration. And the Biden administration can't control other countries. So as this worked its way into our country, coming up through South America into Central America, it was being monitored by this team. And then Trump disbanded that team because Biden bad. But let's also remember that this didn't start under Joe Biden. These people coming up from South America. We'll just end on this. January 19th, 2021, Donald Trump's second to last day in office, he put out a memorandum on deferred enforcement departure for certain Venezuelans. And he said, because of Nicolas Maduro, who's consistently violated the sovereign freedoms possessed by the Venezuelan people through force and fraud, the Maduro regime is responsible for the worst humanitarian crisis in the Western Hemisphere in recent memory. Catastrophic economic crisis and shortages of basic goods and medicine have forced about 5 million Venezuelans to flee the country, often under dangerous conditions. I noticed nothing in here of our crippling sanctions. Shortages of goods and medicine. Nothing about our crippling sanctions. Okay. Oh, here it is. This administration has imposed sanctions against Maduro and his regime. And I have recognized the president of the Venezuelan National Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the interim president of the country, which didn't mean anything because he just stayed the president of the country. The deteriorative condition within Venezuela, which presents an ongoing national security threat to the safety and well-being of the American people, warrants the deferral of the removal of Venezuelan nationals who are present in the United States. Pursuant to my authority, I've determined that it is in the foreign policy interest of the United States to defer the removal of any national of Venezuela or alien without nationality who has last habitually resided in Venezuela, subject to the conditions and exceptions provided below. Let's see if any of these have anything to do with them carrying a flesh-eating worm. They might have to have voluntarily. It's for anybody who last lived in Venezuela, except for people who voluntarily returned to Venezuela. Have not continuously resided in the United States since January 20th, 2021, which was the day after this was signed, who are subject to extradition, whose presence in the United States, the Secretary of Homeland Security has determined is not in the interest of the United States or presents a danger of public safety, or whose presence in the United States, Secretary of State has reasonable grounds to believe would have had potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. Set the groundwork here to allow people from Venezuela to come into our country. You'll notice nothing in there about making sure to check them for flesh-eating worms. And then when he won office and came back, he disbanded that team. But it's clearly Joe Biden's fault because everything is Joe Biden's fault. That's it. That's what we got today. I did not get, for the second time in a row, I did not get to the protests in Albania. I will get to that tomorrow. And hopefully we'll also get to the agreement between Israel and the United States that's being pushed through Congress right now, essentially making us partners. So I apologize for that. I will do my best to get to it tomorrow. I'll try not to get sidetracked. A couple comments. Melanie said, in 1976, we started dropping docile flies in Panama, which makes the screwworm fly unable to reproduce. Then Doge cut it. I was unaware of that. That's crazy. I need to look that up. I didn't know that at all. To say, I love this, Real Turtle. To say there is zero fraud is insane, and you guys are losing your minds. Not one single person in here has said there's zero fraud. I've said at least 50 times on this stream today that there is fraud in literally every single election. And what you're doing right now is you're frustrated that you don't have evidence, so you're making up an argument that none of us are making so that you seem smarter than you really are. And that's not. That doesn't really work here, but love you. All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok. Until I see you guys tomorrow, take care of yourselves. If you want to join us for our members-only event tomorrow night, make sure you're a paid member either on YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok, and then join the Discord. Message Jen at JenDub1, and she'll get you into the server and make sure that you have the credentials to get in and watch Snowden with us on Wednesday night. But until I see you tomorrow morning and then tomorrow night, take care of yourselves. Go outside and touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass or touch grass, best of luck to you. Look in the mirror. Say nice things about yourself. If you come across somebody you love, tell them that you love them. Put your boots on and then put those boots on the ground. Drink lots of water. And until I see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.